And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2025 Pmsl Americas Spring Season Day number 2. The players are ready to go, talking their strategies, getting everything set up. Day 1 was all about getting your feet underneath you, making sure that the vibes are good, you get the jitters out of the way, you see what your competition's up to, and more importantly, you get used to this new format, new map rotation that we've got going on for the spring season in 2025. But luckily, the teams, I think they're ready to go for day 2. Yesterday was great. Today's going to be even better. I'm Taylor Reflections. I'm joined by Seven and Enigma. Seven, great to see you once again, brother. We're back for day number 2. It's going to be wonderful.
Great to be back, man. A lot of surprises yesterday that we got a chance to see. No surprise in regards to Brazil being at the top, but I want to see how that VOD review is going to be coming into play today. Who was able to go back to the hotel room, look at the rotations, figure out what they need to do different, and make sure they show up today.
That's it, man. And hopefully all the coaches are there. We heard some excuses that coaches were missing last season and therefore they couldn't perform. But this season, I'm sure, is going to be different. And Nick, great to see you, man. It's going to be nice to hear your insight. How you feeling?
Oh, we're feeling great. And always, of course, it's 2 is better than 1. Back-to-back days with you two. Love to be here, of course. And I like the word that you said there, Taylor, excuses. I don't believe it one bit. The coaches can be just as impactful. Maybe not in between each game, but I like how Seven said it just now. The VOD review needs to come and play. I understand it was day 1, a lot of new faces to the LAN environment, but you got to learn fast because Brazil yesterday, they were dominating.
That's right. Brazil dominating. No surprise, right? And of course, Alpha 7 leading the charge. They're currently in first, but it doesn't mean they don't have competition. Influence, Rage, Intense Game, Loops, all jumping up there within the top 4, looking great, looking wonderful. And each one of those rosters having some big moments. But I want to talk about North America. Inco and Wolves. Inco, Wolves, both looking strong in individual moments. 7, they had so many great plays, good clutch ups. They're a little bit further down than they want to be. But for NA, I'm not necessarily unhappy with the way they performed on day 1.
Yeah, especially if we're talking about Inco Gaming. The way that they were able to come back when it came down to Miramar, I think it was beautiful. I think it's the reason why their whole day was saved. Because if we went back and look at the performances in Erangel, those 3 matches that we had, they were finishing with an average place of 13 and a total of 7 eliminations for those 3 matches. So that's not going to be able to cut it. But being able to bounce back in the Miramars, being able to average a 2nd place finish, back it up with some LMs as well, a total of 9. That's what you want to see there for Inco Gaming. Now, the reason why I also want to talk about Wolves Esports is because this team, they were able to as well get a lot of eliminations. Their best overall map, I'm just going to put this out there, I felt like it was Sandhawk, even though they didn't get as many eliminations as they did in the final Miramar. But for Wolves Esports, they need to narrow down the rotations. They need to make sure they stay alive a little bit longer. We saw what Coops is able to do in a tight situation. We know that he can perform when he needs to, and you can see it here perfectly. I mean, Wolves being able to get even more elims, but it all comes down to that average placement and that average survival time. They're just falling short. If they can, Enigma, if they can get themselves there in a top 6 situation, this team is definitely going to start shooting up on the leaderboard.
Yeah, and even if it's just Coops alive, right? We saw it on that first map, Sanhok. He was piecing apart X-Force on the hillside, as well as, I believe, Intense Game until they opted to rotate away towards Glory. Wolves Esports, the 10 average placements is just so hard to see, right? That's not even a single point under your belt on average for some of these matches. And comparing them to someone like Alpha 7 even, I believe Alpha 7 had at least 1 placement point every match yesterday, which saying that doesn't seem to have as much weight as actually realizing it for these players and stuff like that. So for Inco Gaming, I enjoyed what I saw from them, but Wolves today especially needs to find themselves in the late game and allow your players to perform when they need to the most.
Without a doubt, and for Inco, there's more than just meets the eye. McGrellan, for example, coming from Alpha 7 and now on this Inco roster, he's got a lot to prove. Doesn't need Alpha 7 to find success. He can find success himself. And while he's been playing very well, and that's why Inco's been having as much of a good time as they currently have. But as far as Wolves go, there's a lot of players there that you know and you love. Baton, Doran, Coops, and of course, Wancho. Sarpatch had a chance to speak with Wancho before today's games. Let's hear what he had to say.
All right, guys, here we are about to start day 2. Juancho, yesterday. Tell me about it, how it went. It wasn't that good. What do you think you're going to change for today?
We're just not changing much. Yesterday was a warm-up day. That's about all. We're just not gonna be playing scared today. About same game plan, but we're just gonna be playing more, not scared.
That's it. They were nervous yesterday. Today they're going to do better. Thank you, Juancho.
There it is. Nervous yesterday, 7. Today, feeling a little bit better, I guess.
Nervous? I mean, if that's nervous, you know what? I'll take it. In regards to them being able to say they're going to keep the same strats, I'm hoping it ends up working out. As I mentioned earlier, I just want to see them being able to survive a little bit longer in the matches.
Well, without a doubt, and that's what it's all about, picking up your elims, of course, which those do add up, but staying alive. But that's not just a trait that Inco might struggle with. It's a trait that several of the teams struggle with. And for example, Vios. Vios was truly impressive yesterday when they were getting in fights. I mean, it was like fireworks exploding. They were looking so wonderful, but the problem is they fizzle out too early. If they can also figure out how to stay alive longer, plus with those elims they're already accumulating, I think they can be an unstoppable force, in my opinion. But I mentioned the top dog earlier. Now let's really break it down. Enigma Alpha 7, and intense game, right? Those two teams have been going back and forth. Alpha 7 obviously in first place, but intense game, working their way up. Revo was unbelievable, clutching up in so many moments. Our top elimination leader going into day 2, no surprise.
Yeah, yesterday was just a highlight reel for Riva, right? Just absolutely outperforming everyone in the lobby. I don't believe anyone is even close to that elimination counter that he's putting up. I know we'll have that pulled up in a bit, but just in terms of these two squads, Alpha 7 and Intense Game, there's a reason why both these teams are in first and second place. We didn't get to realize it too much yesterday. Intense Game, actually, that first match, they finished second place with a lot of eliminations under their belt. Alpha 7, on the other hand, just overshadowing it by having such dominant performances on all 6 of the maps. So for both these squads, they're able to really perform and shine out when they needed to. We expect the most from Alpha 7. Obviously, some of these other Brazilian squads are wanting to perform better today, like Team Liquid and Bios Gaming. But for Intense Game, I was really surprised, especially with Pedrino and a lot of these plays being that sort of main player for the squad. But the head-to-head speaks for itself. Total eliminations. I mean, that's a 9 elimination gap after 6 games. No one coming close after it. The average damage per game, 582. That's over 100. That's essentially a knocked player and a thirst, essentially, compared to Pedrino, who's the second place team, by the way, just behind Alpha 7 by 3 eliminations, showing that, in my mind, Taylor, I want to get your opinion on it. Alpha 7, they're playing around Revo. He's soaking up a lot of the eliminations, but Intense Game, all 4 players performing, being able to be just behind Alpha 7's coattails.
Well, that's what it takes, right? You can have somebody like Revo performing as well as he is, and trust me, that's going to do a lot of damage to every roster out there on the battlefield. But if you don't have the rest of your roster backing him up, Revo is just going to fizzle out. In this case, though, for Intense Game, everybody doing their part. But let's not forget the reason why they're currently in second place is, yes, they were consistent throughout the first 5 maps, but it was that explosive Miramar game number 6. Winner, chicken dinner, 18 eliminations. That's what put them up in second, and who knows how far they can go. But they also showed anything can happen, anything can change on the standings from one explosive game. Back on board with Revo. Sarpatch had a chance to sit down with them from Alpha 7 before today's games. Let's hear what their mindset's like going into the second day.
With who was the best player of the first match day, you're feeling so confident. I can see it in the way you guys are your demeanor, how you walk. This guy told me yesterday we're gonna get 3, you got 2. He owes me 1. Okay. But how you guys feeling? You got squashed now. Everything looks like it's flowing. Tell me about it.
We are feeling completed when Squash join. It's like we are completed. We know what we can do now. We can be the best in the world, win the PMGC, win the WC. So we was training a lot, and this is the fruits of our labor.
Let's invite this guy over because this guy, we know this guy too. He's now the coach, Cunha. Congratulations on the new role. I mean, it's not small deal. Not a player anymore, but a coach, but for Alpha 7. And this guy, he's your friend. How's the chemistry been here with this new Alpha 7?
Me with them? Yeah. It's very good because I play with him like 2 years, and here we have a mentality to win every tournament. So our is like we are feeling very good to play all tournaments that we are participating. So every person here has the same goal. So we good.
The goals and the skills.
The most important thing.
The most important thing. Thank you very much. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Keep killing him, bro. Let's go.
Seven, it's nice to hear him say, we feel like a complete team. We know we're the best team in the world. Now they feel like they're just that team they were always supposed to be. It takes a little bit to get there, but through perseverance, Alpha 7 was able to accomplish that.
Yeah, it goes along the lines of what I was saying yesterday in regards to this team, especially with them being able to add squash, getting rid of McGrellan there after PMGC, a lackluster performance. And it is looking like that. We saw them being super confident yesterday in those 2-2 splits. We saw them being confident whether it was in the center of the circle or playing that edge. Now, if I'm going to be nitpicky for you, Alpha 7, today, I want to see what you guys can do in Miramar. Because yesterday, those were I guess, in a way, the worst maps that you guys played.
Miramar, so that's the challenge, huh? Can you finish strong in the back end of the games today? Map 5 and Map 6, obviously Miramar played back-to-back. If they could do that, I don't know, man. I think everybody's going to be in trouble. Heck, they might already be in trouble. Alpha 7's in first place with 76 points. We mentioned intense game, though, during the head-to-head, jumping all the way up to second place off that banger of a game number 6 of Miramar with 18 eliminations plus the win, a 28-point game. Just really phenomenal. The highest that we've seen, at least, of the tournament. It's only day 2. I'm sure more is to come. But let's talk about a couple more rosters we didn't necessarily hit on earlier. Enigma, let's talk Loops, Influence, Rage in 3rd and 4th. Top 4 as close as it is because Loops, Influence, Rage are keeping it competitive.
Yeah, Influence, Rage, those 2 wins yesterday, being able to at least stay close to Loops. We saw Loops in essentially every match yesterday, winning their initial squad wipes, getting themselves those elimination points compared to some of these other squads, which for Loops, they didn't have too many placement points outside of that win compared to the rest of the 5 matches, only securing themselves 9, but it just shows that they're at least putting themselves in some of these engagements and gunfights to get those eliminations. And a lot of these teams, especially just underneath them, that point gap spreads heavily based off of solely eliminations. And that's always been the name of the game, right? All of last year, when this point system was introduced and stuff like that, it was all about getting those eliminations under your belt. Brazil has been a dominant force in this factor, and I'm happy to see a lot of us starting to kind of adapt and be able to pick up what these other squads are able to perform and outdo us in a lot of these regards. But this right side of the page, Taylor, we can't ignore it. A lot of these teams needed to do that VOD review we were recommending last night, especially when it comes to our NA squads. Wolves, Esports, X-Force. I was putting them on the hype train at the beginning of yesterday, and then I was blasting them down at the end of it. I need to see more out of them.
You do, and I hope we do get some more out of them today. Again, going back to intense game, 28-point game to finish off the day, jumping up to second. That's possible for anyone here on the second page. It's only day 2 after all. We have 2 phases for league play, and then we have our grand finals. Plenty of opportunity to grow as a roster, as a team, as an individual during the LAN setting. Those day 2 teams, or excuse me, page 2 teams, I should say, most likely have a chance to come back, and they will. Hoping it's going to be North America. I don't know, though. Yeah, I mean, hey, North America, they need a little bit of help. But speaking of North America, X-Force 7 was super happy with their performance yesterday. They had a lot of great moments. One of the things they did well was keeping teams in check. So many times they would stand back, watch like a team such as Loops. Like, for example, here, even on Sandhawk, X-Force doing a wonderful job keeping Loops in check. Coops, remember his solo fight? Going up the hill, taking down 2 players by himself. Beautifully done. Coops, every time he's alive, he always has a chance to make an impact. And that's scary for anybody out there. And I do feel strongly, if X-Force doesn't get caught in between the 2 teams they did on Sandhawk yesterday, I think they go far, maybe even a top 3 finish. So they're going to be my roster to watch out for game number 1. After all, they're talented. They just got to figure it out and make it all the way. It's day number 2, game number 7 of 36 for our league play. Things are going to heat up, and chat, get loud for the team you're representing. Who do you want to see go all the way today? And more importantly, who do you want to see win game number 1, which is right before you? 7, let's get it started where we drop it.
We're going to be dropping in boot camp. I want to see if we're going to maybe have a bit of a hot drop again. Yesterday, we ended up having one between X-Force and Influence Rage, both teams being able to get one elimination apiece and then deciding to back off. They did end up taking a little bit longer, and from what I'm seeing so far in this map, it looks like we're gonna end up getting it again. So I'm intrigued to see if they're actually gonna be fully committing, if there is another knock, if there is another elimination, or if maybe they'll find themselves in a situation where they're gonna have to back off too. And as we're seeing that, I mean, there's a lot of teams here landing a lot closer to each other than we expected. We already saw one of the Wolves players going down, and now we're looking at Old Glory Gaming, a team that definitely needs points here. Is not looking good for Old Glory Gaming, as 2 of their teammates have already been eliminated less than 2 minutes into the match.
Yeah, and it's all about getting the elimination points. Unfortunately for Sandhawk, this spot that they dropped out, you're essentially only getting 1 or 2 guns per building. If you're not getting the lucky ones, maybe the shotguns or those UMPs, you're leaving yourselves open for failure. And unfortunately for AGG, we didn't catch the first 2 getting knocked, but after you lose 2 and get thirsted without getting any trades, you just start crumbling like this. And it's sad to see, because if this was just one squad landing here, we saw that map just now, northwestern zone. This squad could have just instantly rotated, but unfortunately, M2M, he's going to have to try to get at least maybe 1 elimination under his belt. Luckily, the rest of the squad here is able to cover, but he's able to get 2, almost 3 players. A little close for comfort, but Taylor, 4 eliminations for United for Gaming, one of our Latin American squads, starting off strong today.
Very much so. United for Gaming had a lot of great moments yesterday, but so did AGG, so it's quite a shock to see them losing as quickly as they did. You start day 2, you get eliminated within the first minute and a half. It can't be a good feeling. I really hope they snap back, because I know they're a talented roster, but yeah, United for Gaming, big win from them. Let's see if they can continue that momentum. We transfer over towards Influence Rage and X-Force, a team that I highlighted just a little bit ago. X-Force, so talented, representing North America, but against Influence Rage, 7, this is going to be a tough one for them to fight.
It could be a tough one. The thing that I wanted to mention too, as we see somebody there from Influence Rage getting knocked, is that Influence Rage has been able to get those placement points, but the only placement points that they have come from them being able to get wins. Ever since if they're not able to get a win, they're just not getting any placement points. And I'm intrigued to see if they're actually going to end up committing here, if they're going to have to back up. But with how close this is looking and how committed X-Force is looking here, it looks like they are going to have to defend. You can see some of the players, they're not really being fully set up in regards to the loot. Diego holding an angle. We saw what beautiful grenade he was able to throw yesterday on some of the matches. And Law as well, at least they're currently close by. There you go, Forrest, and does end up getting eliminated. This is the opening that X-Force has been looking. I'm enjoying here how patient X-Force is being, taking their time, not being too overly confident, because they know that they're going up against Influence Rage.
Yeah, an Influence Rage, it looks like it's going to be Diego spearheading. Unfortunately, 24 Ks, and they just missing the mark, getting the player at least half HP, but this is the scary part. This is the moments where those TPP angles, those right-hand peaks really start leaving you open to potentially getting shot. And X-Force, they're playing this so slow and methodical, just trying to force Influence Rage out, but they're pressing the nerve now. Valak going in first, getting traded out immediately for Alim, and this is where the smoke comes into play. Unfortunately, Fade as well getting knocked. Lox, who found himself under the roof, might be getting a cheeky angle here in the pre-fire. Drop down, gets 1, making this, I believe, a 1v2 situation inside. Lowboy needing to group up with Blah, trying to figure out where this last player is, understands that he's on the roof here, and for the most part, he has the right technology. 24 Ks matching him with the DBS, but Influence Rage, you have to be careful. Law setting the narrative, resetting. He's not trying to overdo it here. He needs to make sure that he gets this last elimination, at least be a duo. We've seen the pressure that these squads can have as a duo if they're paired up and able to actually take these engagements, but we can see just how devious of an angle this is, Taylor. It's just, I mean, how do you even push this if you're Influence Rage? I know there's the doorway they can maybe jump on, but that's all about timing, and you have to be picture perfect with it if you want this to succeed.
Yeah, not easy for either perspective. For 24K to push the 1v2, obviously for Influence Rage to push up. 24K's got a lot to work with, but with only 7 shots, he's got to be decisive on how he wants to use his DBS, because he uses it incorrectly, he's going to be out of bullets, and he's going to be all she wrote, essentially. But for him, he can't really even disengage. And that's what I would do. I was going to suggest, like, if I'm Law or I'm Lil Boy, I'm breaking one away. You know 24K is not going to push you. I break one away and see if I can get an off angle, potentially from another building, and take him out on the rooftop, right? That's what I'm doing, because 24K can't afford to push up. Only 5 shots left in a DBS. He's running on fumes at the moment, but this will stagnate. But the reality is, Seven, like, no matter how this ends up unfolding, X-Force, Influence, Rage, they're already going to have a tough game number 1 because they're not going to have the forces to battle with going into the end game.
Yeah, and if you're X-Force, this kind of becomes a lose-lose situation. Even whenever they were winning this hot drop, when are you gonna start hot dropping? Right? We mentioned day 1. Okay, I'm gonna allow some hot drops in day 2, even though you want it. I was hoping you're not gonna end up seeing it, as now Influence Rage is gonna start getting a little bit hyper here, and there you go, easy pickings. As Law is gonna be able to finish him. A little bit of DM there, being able to shoot at the boxes. You know what? Shoot him some more. Send the message. Let them know that you don't want him to land there, because for Influence Rage, you're currently seeing that they're top 3. If they lose this, they still got all the other matches, and we know what they were able to do in the other matches. For X-Force, it's a lose-lose situation. Even if they would have won that, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but at least this is how I'm taking it. Because even if you do end up winning, you end up losing players, and you end up just hindering your potential to maybe end up getting even more points in Sandhawk.
You know, it's a tragic stat line that I just realized looking at sort of our player sheet that we have for each of our squads coming in here today. Was Fate from yesterday, even though they were on that bottom half of the leaderboard, finished off yesterday with the 3rd most damage in the lobby. He's putting in the work. He's getting at least some shots connecting each match. Just that squad is not really able to picture themselves in these winning scenarios. And especially for today, we know Sandhawk, it's going to be the first map. I see it as more of a warm-up, get your fingers going sort of deal. Make sure that you're able to actually win these gunfights that you're taking on Sandhawk. And especially for X-Force, I was really hoping that they would win that 4v4. At least come out maybe only losing 1 or 2 players, but instead goes to the Brazilian superstars. And Taylor, I'm not sure what your thoughts are with X-Force, at least to begin with, but seeing Fate at the top damage and stuff like that, I know we had an interview set up with Valak as well. He was looking a little nervous on the back end. We were able to take a peek, but X-Force, I'm needing to see some signs of life today. It's way too troublesome, their performances right now.
Well, I think the frustrating thing for me is I know X-Force has such a high skill ceiling. They do, and they have such high potential, and they don't live up to that potential often. But I will say for Fate, it really isn't surprising to me that he's so high in the damage. I mean, you look at his performance yesterday. We were shouting at the top of our lungs multiple times at plays he was making, the ways he was staying alive, supporting his roster and his team. Fate is a great player, even during his interviews, as I said yesterday. So poised, in control. You look at Fate, and you just see a pure competitor. I'm a big fan of Fate, always have been. He's got the looks, he's got the moves, he's just that guy. But again, it's just like Revo. Like, Revo can be tearing it up on the battlefield. He's still going to do damage to the teams, but if the rest of Alpha 7 isn't there to back him up and support him, Alpha 7 isn't the team that they currently are because of just one individual. So even as good as Fate is, X-Force as a roster needs to truly step it up and just come together and overall figure it out. Now, for Vios Gaming, indeed trouble, and Shallow Waters getting gunned down. Royals of War and Loops both focusing their attention on him. I don't know how they got into this spot, but I know they're regretting it now, Seven.
Yeah, they were able to get at least 1 elimination earlier on, but as you mentioned, now they're just getting peppered from both angles for this team. It's not looking good. One thing that I was noticing there whenever we did end up showing up the map is how it was split. I'm trying to figure out where the other players from Alpha 7 are. I think they are currently doing a 2-2 there in different vehicles, but they're just taking their sweet time to get in, and just being able to adjust is pretty much what I'm wanting to point out here, as they are going to be able to play that edge. But Royals of War, this is a team that actually ended up surprising me yesterday. They ended up in 6th place. They were able to secure 3 top 4 finishes. And if this team is able to even continue on that consistency, they will maintain themselves within the top 5. Because even as much as we're hyping up Influence Rage, and as much as I want to hype up Influence Rage as well, in regards to them being currently in the top 4, that team really didn't perform that well outside of their wins. They ended up getting 11th place, 14th place, 13th place, and 12th place with really not that many eliminations. So I wonder how Influence Rage is going to be acting today if none of those wins come their way.
That's a fact. And that's a narrative, right, for some of our rosters, including Intense Game. They don't have that pop-off Game 6. They're not in 2nd place. Then we start questioning, well, how good is this roster? Are they living up to their potential? And you could say, again, the same for so many rosters out there. But it does excite me. I mean, E7, you mentioned the inconsistencies. But Influence Rage is still at 55 points compared to the 76 of Alpha 7. So that shows to me, even though Influence Rage isn't placing as high as we would want them to, they're still remaining competitive. Imagine if they fix their longevity. Imagine if they're able to successfully make the top 3 and still get the eliminations they're getting. I mean, they could be a top running team potentially going for gold.
Yeah, exactly with what I'm mentioning, right? If for some reason those wins don't come their way, then we'll actually end up seeing their true colors. Can they adjust and actually become consistent and get points, chip off points like some of the other teams have been able to do? I mean, one team that I can think of right off the bat that I was kind of hyping up earlier, Royals of War. That team didn't end up with any wins, but they were making sure that they at least were able to secure top 4 finishes, top 3 finishes. And whenever those top 4 finishes came about, they were able to back it up with elims, because some of the other teams that I'm looking towards the bottom of the leaderboard, when you got VIP Esports NA, when you got All Glory Gaming, especially VIP Esports, they ended up in one match. I think it was the first Myanmar in 4th place, and they ended up with 0 eliminations. Yeah, good job on getting the placement points, but you're not really able to back it up, right?
Yeah.
What you want to see out of this team is you want to be able to back it up at least with some elims, as 9C gets eliminated by Team Liquid.
Oh, I don't even know what happened there. Maybe it was just a rotation on foot, not able to even, I guess, make it to their prime position. We saw that circle shift going right onto the mountaintop. A rare zone, to be honest, for us to see. We always see it kind of shift more towards Hot 10 and stuff like that. And I was happy you had mentioned Royals of War, right? Fortunately, we'll have to get back to that big fight going on. Actually, 2 of our squads that are desperately needing points. VIP versus Savage. And unfortunately, Snacks is all over Ayuya, leaving it down to just Poppy Sour in a 1v2 situation, I believe. We'll have to try to get Octia. But this is one of those fights, Taylor, where you got to really leave yourselves in the thick of it and try to get the shots. But some third party coming in. Sour now forced into the 1v1 inside. He's got the right weapon for it. Both shotguns connecting, and Snacks wins it out. Big win for the squad. Will be able to, I believe, get both players. I mean, look at that. He actually got all 4 players of VIP. Essentially a 1v4 there.
That's impressive. Impressive indeed. Snacks 1v4 on VIP, which I'm curious, you know, we're paying attention to 16 teams fighting at different points of the map. For VIP, I did notice that they were top right of the map in Papa Blue for the longest time. That happens on Sandhawk a lot. Teams, for some reason, feel very comfortable or have late rotations. They'll stay in blue as long as they possibly can before they start breaking into the stages, the later stages, I should say, in this case, stage 3. But VIP must have rotated all the way around, starting from the northern side, going to the eastern side, then the southern side, all the way to the westmost bridge, and they come over to attack Savage. And who knows, by the time they get there, I'm thinking they're already weak. Maybe they lost a player already to blue zone. I don't know what took them so long to get to that point, but that's the risk you take when you stay in blue for as long as they did. You know there's going to be a team, most likely, who's going to be gatekeeping you, who already has hardcover POI, and especially when you're going over those bridges, it's just deadly. It really is, and Savage clearly had their number, and it's unfortunate for VIP. I really hope in the future that they clean that up, at least on their Sandhawk, but they're going to have to wait till tomorrow because it's only played once a day.
Yeah, and the scary thing about it is you talk about the bridges. 7, you're noting Rose of War. They're still camping this eastern side. They dropped directly onto one of the Wolves players. I believe it was Coops, and immediately took a 4v1 on his split drop compound. Rose of War forcing themselves early into the engagement, getting themselves the bridge control for these exact zones. And if you're able to set yourself up, spread out on the eastern side of the island, I believe they had almost all of the compounds for them to loot after they were able to take that engagement. Seeing them now, they actually have a really prime position to rotate in. And unfortunately, as I say that, it shifts all the way to the west. That's going to be Camp Alpha, as well as half that mountaintop in play. And somehow, some way, Alpha 7 is going to be in the prime position. But Loops, they're taking the engagements. They're saying, we don't care about where we're at in the zone. We're getting our elimination points like we usually do. Fortunately for them now, it looks like they're a bit too split up from that Royals of War split, now being down to just a solo.
Yeah, for Royals of War, I'm wondering if they're maybe going to do a bit of a northwest rotation, try to mimic what Team Liquid ended up doing, because that would work wonders for them. And how many vehicles do they actually have in their favor too? Right now, we have Inco. They heard a party going on here, and they're looking to third-party this between United for Gaming and Loops Esports. United currently down 2 players. One is not. Inco looking to capitalize on this, and they're starting to do just that as McGrellin. We know that he wants to showcase why he is one of the PMWC champions, And here comes the grenades going with the shotguns as well. One player left standing. Vitali not being able to connect, but 7 shows up and is able to connect. And there goes United for Gaming. Great awareness here from Inco Gaming. This is something that I want to see more out of this team, especially if they do have all their 4 players alive, especially if they're not in a situation where they're able to kind of push in. As we're switching over to Wolves Esports versus Team Liquid, 2 teams that definitely need the points. Reflections.
Must-win fight for Team Liquid. They had their struggles yesterday. We're questioning, is this roster losing their edge? Have they been losing their edge? Does change need to happen? Well, we're going to find out today because Team Liquid hopefully bringing their A game. Cardozo up close and personal onto Wancho. Flames out, Wancho disappears. Chief now has an off angle onto Baton. That's a good nade. If Chief can just get up there, file a pellet, he will, and take him down. Wolves in a bit of shambles situation. Only one more player remaining. Team Liquid has played this masterfully to the point where now I believe Wolves will fall. Wancho can't hold his ground. He tried, valiant effort, but it wasn't enough. But unfortunately for Team Liquid, as masterfully as they played it, they still took some damage. They lose 1 player, but I must say, it's nice to see them getting active. Now it's 7 eliminations. This is the best game we've seen so far during the 2 days of competition.
I'll take that sacrifice for this team. That Northwest rotation ended up working out wonders. For some reason, Wolves wasn't expecting anybody to maybe come up from behind them. And the way Team Liquid was able to time that, it was kind of perfect. It reminded me a little bit of what happened to X-Force yesterday during the Erangel matches. But let's see what their circle is going to be closing in here, because I'm pretty sure if it closes in on Inco is going to be looking to just rack up the amount of eliminations that they're going to be having. IG as well. This is great positioning for IG as well, Enigma.
Yeah, and unfortunately, as that Team Liquid fight was going on, Rose of War full sending into intense game, getting completely wiped out on these engagements. And that's just the type of zone this is. You either take the mountain or you're full sending those POIs. Team Liquid, I believe, full slammed as a 4-man there. So 4v3 against the Wolves. You're expecting them to win, but a little bit of a rat play coming from the solo. Shoot to survive. Klaus not realizing the situation. And this is a team that loves playing the mountaintop here. They understand what these positions do and stuff like that. So I expect Shoot to survive. Hopefully they're able to eliminate this Loops player without taking any casualties. The mountaintop reigns supreme. The high cover is where it's at. And we actually see Klaus moving backwards, allowing Casper to potentially just get that elimination himself, try to secure ourselves that position in zone, because every life matters. Every player with a gun shooting is able to expect the most. And Klaus, he says, never mind. I'm going to turn around. I'm going to do it myself. Shoot to survive. 3 eliminations, all 4 players up. This is what we want to see out of our NA squad, right? We want to see them surviving. We want to see them getting the eliminations. And for it being Sanhok, I think this is a good starting point for the squad.
Well, another fight's going to take place as Influence Rage Lowboy will fall. In fact, he was the solo. He's now down and out. Shoot to survive, continuing their dominating run with 4 players up, 4 eliminations towards the bottom in 14th place. But again, all it takes is a solid couple of games for you to elevate yourself to the top page. More importantly, maybe even top 3. And well, Shoot to survive is taking down Loops, Influence Rage. Why not try it out for 7? Well, Darklight, he's not going to be shy about it, nor is Klaus. And with them having the high ground, they've got a big advantage. But Revos, he's getting active. He's heating up. Not going to be an easy fight, 7, but one Shoot to survive needs to take.
Yeah, and luckily for Alpha 7, they have at least some cover here, and they do have the advantage that they're still within their circle. They are willing to just wait a little bit longer to see how this is going to play out with some of those teams. They know that Inco's going to be towards the bottom of this cliff. As you can see, the grenades coming in. Shoot to survive, keeping an eye here for Alpha 7. Will Alpha 7 be able to survive? I'm not sure what type of utilities they have. I know that they took a very long time to be able to rotate into this actual circle when we ended up going to North Island. But Klaus, we saw him being able to sack out some of the players there from Loops earlier on. Can he do it with Alpha 7? Alpha 7 now starting to use some of their mobility to their advantage, getting a little bit closer, making it harder here for Shoot to survive to being able to spot him. But they need to be careful because Inco Gaming is close by. And while all of this is happening, there's one team that's absolutely loving this. It's not only just going to be Team Liquid, it's also going to be IG, because they're not having to really fight against anybody, especially IG.
Yeah, this is a crazy fight that's about to go underway. Carrillo needs to be very careful. He's got so he knows Eco's in front of him. That's good. I thought he was full sending without any awareness of where Inko was, but he's smarter than that. And in fact, he's going to potentially try to poke the bear a bit, but I think he's expecting them all to be at the car. Yes, he is. He wasn't expecting Vitaly and co to be off to the right and be that close. A bit of a blunder, but now the fireworks start going off, and it's going to be Shoot to Survive, picking up a couple more eliminations, and that's going to be on to Savage. Klaus truly waking up, and Alpha 7 says, well, now's the time to get active. But who do they challenge, Enigma? You can't really go out the Shoot to Survive, at least right now, viably. You can't go down the hill onto Inko. Alpha 7's getting put into the blender. I hate to say it.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's just Team Liquid as well from Narnia taking shots from the compound. Unfortunately, it's just Alpha 7. They took a little bit too long to pressure Inko. Having Shoot to Survive as well as a full 4-man on top of the mountain. Shoot to Survive actually sent 3 players down to the south side just to add more to the chaos. Essentially 12 or 15 players before the shots started raining down, all condensing down on the cliff side. And we even see it here. Mafioso trying to weasel his way in, but he has to drop down. He gets one with the shotgun, almost making it 2, but the Inko spread, the vehicles reigning supreme. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if McGrone will be able to get Vitaly up. As long as they're able to keep 3 players, I don't think it's too bad, but I'm not... What happened here? Klaus down and out. He had 5 of the team's eliminations here, 7. What goes from good to bad for Shoot to Survive, they got to make it in the zone out as a 3-man.
It's one of those things when you get just so hyper-focused on those teams that are close by that you kind of forget about some of the other teams that might end up having an angle on you. And that's the thing with Team Liquid. They just have been sitting throughout this whole time, being able to spot players that maybe over-peak a little bit too long and get spotted out. But with Shoot to Survive, this is going to be a tough one. How much utility do you have to work with here? Because not only are you going to have to jump down that cliff, you really don't have that much cover for all of those players. You can see it right there. The zone is starting to do damage. On top of that, you're going to have to hope that something of the likes of what we saw yesterday in Mirror to happen, and it doesn't end up happening, as now we're narrowing down to the 3 teams left: Inko Gaming, IG, and Team Liquid. With IG, their positioning right now, they're going to have to start moving around. They're going to have to need to use the madness there a little bit from Inko Gaming. They're going to be able to eliminate them alongside Team Liquid, and it's going to come down. Can Team Liquid finally back it up? Can they showcase why they were the champions last year of the Pmsl Americas Spring Split, as they're looking to perform miracles here on the 2nd day?
It's good old-fashioned 3v3. Silence can't get away, but manages to do so, but just barely. Chief Cardozo down, and I don't know if Team Liquid can do it. It's up to Ayala, and he's got to work his way up a hill, and the battle against the elevation difference on the hilltop. IG most likely taking this victory unless a miracle happens. Padrino's got Ayala in his line of sight. Chief is desperately crawling. Do you stick the rest? Do you go for it? Well, you don't have a choice. Team Liquid, albeit their best game, will give them their flowers with 9 eliminations. But intense game, remaining consistent from day 1 to day 2. They get the win, starting off the day. 9 eliminations. Well done. Enigma, intense game. They're on fire.
Yeah, and I think the key component was them being able to save that 1 coup under their belt, making sure it wasn't shot out from Shoot to Survive. Having even just Adrian go for that off play, even though he was shot and knocked, it allowed his 2 teammates. We saw the one on the rooftop of the shack getting that trade knock instantly, having that pressure from the top side. That's a team that understands the situation and the lay of the land. And when I saw that circle shift, I was thinking the only way Team Liquid wins is if they can take control of that road. Unfortunately, they couldn't. And we saw at the end, all it took was 1 frag grenade to finish the job. We talked about it with Team Liquid. They got those eliminations, but intense game, played it to perfection.
They did, but Team Liquid, the fact they finished off in 2nd place with 9 elims, again, their best game. I'm hoping they turn things around. They're a partner team. They're a legendary team when it comes to PUBG Mobile, at least for our region. I want to see them perform. I think everybody else does. It's easy to say they're struggling. It's hard to say they're finding success, but maybe it's going to get a little bit easier to say that as time goes along. But hey, for our North American teams, we highlighted Inko at the start of the show, 7. What a game that was for them. 7 eliminations, top 3 finish. Beautifully done.
It came down to them just being proactive to making sure that we're able to third-party teams. We saw them being able to do it when United for Gaming ended up getting third-party by Inko Gaming, and then after that they have a little bit of freedom to work with, right? Not really having to worry about anybody coming up from behind, allow them to push up to that cliff and just hold off and see if they can maybe clutch out some even more placement points, which they were able to do. There you go. That's the fight that I was talking about. But for Team Liquid, I have to once again give them props for that push. towards Wolves. The way that they were able to rotate, that they were able to time it, also scout as well, they did that perfectly, and it showed us once again, as you were saying, I mean, this is the Team Liquid that we've been expecting, not a win. And for IG, yesterday in Sandhawk, they ended up with second place. Today, first place. I think their favorite map, you know what? They might be Sandhawk.
Now, which one, Sandhawk or Miramar? Because let's not forget, they finished off Miramar with 18 eliminations, right? To end the day, they start the day with the win. But I'm right there with you. Second place yesterday on Sandhawk with 10 eliminations. Today, they do it a little bit better, getting first place, 9 elims. One thing you have to say, intense game, highly consistent, racking up the winner chicken dinners along with eliminations. They're inching closer to passing Alpha 7 for first. And hell, who knows? After this game, they might have just done that. You can really thank Padrino and Silence for being the top slayers yesterday for that IG roster with 15, 13 eliminations respectively. 19 elims. Team Liquid, though, big story. 15 total points coming for them. And excuse me, intense game, 19 points, not 19 elims. Inco game, looking great. Would love to see more consistency with them. Big story around them, right? North America, you've got a lot of great players, obviously, representing that specific roster. Bruno, Gary, Seven, but of course, McGrellin as well. Coming from Alpha 7, he's got something to prove. He's looking to prove it indeed. Alpha 7 finishes off with 4. At one point, they had a 2-2 split in the cars, but that's not unorthodox. We've been watching Alpha 7 make these splits, and they do work most of the time. In this case, unfortunately, it didn't. We look at our second page. Some teams had a little bit of trouble, but Enigma, we do have to say, United for Gaming had a couple of great wins, a couple of great fights. That's why they finished off with 7 elims.
Yeah, and if you're losing to the likes of Inco, who made it into that top 3, top 4 placement, I can't blame you too much. They had that good fight earlier on that eastern side just to get third-partied, and I'm really liking the fact that some of these squads are starting to take these engagements, and you're wondering it, Taylor, Alpha 7 with only those 4 points, they boost up to first place past them. So a new champion, right, coming into the PMSL Americas. This obviously is only day 2, the first game, but seeing any sort of change is big news here.
Hey, big news indeed. Seven, you said it. Intense game. If they could just work on their placements, right, getting a little bit further along within that top 3 conversation, they could potentially be up there in first. Well, it seems like they got the job done in just map 1.
They definitely did. Being able to back it up. What is that now? Back-to-back wins. You mentioned what they were able to do yesterday in Miramar with those 18 eliminations. Being able to back it up here once again. First match of day 2 with the Sandhawk win 9 elims and then passing Alpha 7 after Alpha 7 looked unstoppable yesterday on the, I would say, on the first half of the day. This is good news, not just for everybody currently watching, because we're not going to have a team that's just running away with it, but it's also good because it's going to give Alpha 7 a bit of a challenge. And to be honest, I was surprised that Alpha 7 was even able to make it into the circle, because where they usually end up dropping, the rotation that they had to do, I'm even impressed that they ended with any points whatsoever. For some of the other teams, though, Influence Rage and another one that we mentioned at the start, X-Force, I want to see what they're going to be doing here on this Erangel's coming up, because that hot drop did not go their way.
Not at all. But good news is for X-Force anyways, for that specific roster, Erangel's a great map for them. Hoping map 2 is going to be even better because, yeah, that initial drop, they were the second team to be finished off just following that of AGG. Another great roster who unfortunately fell way too early. Game 2, they're going to have to clean it up. Well, there it is. That's our only Sandhawk of the day. It was exciting. Without question, we already have a shake-up for first place. Intense game taken over, but Alpha 7, you better believe, are going to be fighting back to reclaim gold by the end of the day. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Erangel coming your way. Welcome back, everyone, to the 2025 PMSL America spring season. It's day number 2 and 5 more maps to go. Sandhawk did not disappoint. Like I said before the break, Party had a big shakeup. Alpha 7 falling down to second. Intense game going up, albeit only 3 points separate the two rosters. It's going to be a back and forth all the way till the very end, at least of phase 1 for our league play. But it is getting exciting, even for North America. I mean, look at Eco. Eco played so very well, and they're going to continue to do so. I firmly believe it. I'm Taylor Reflections Noble, of course, joined by the wonderful Seven and Enigma. It's been a great day already. What can we expect moving forward for Erangel? Seven, yesterday, Erangel was relatively slow. We didn't see too many hot, spicy fights off the rip. We got that on Sandhawk. We got it on Miramar. But for Erangel, played 3 times in a row, it seems the teams are slowing things down as opposed to our old format.
It was. People were a little bit hesitant to actually end up taking on 2 fights earlier on, as you were mentioning in regards to the comparison that we saw between Erangel and Miramar. I think for today, more than likely, we're going to continue to see the same damn thing. Nobody's going to want to fight earlier on. If we do end up fighting, you know what? Not even if we do end up fighting, I do want to see different circles. Yesterday, we ended up getting 2 circles that kind of were very similar. I want to see what some of these other teams in regards to their landing spots, in regards to their rotations, how they're going to be able to adjust to that. One theme that I'm going to be keeping a close eye on, especially because they came in hot today, and I was seeing a lot of memes yesterday about Team Liquid. I want to see if they're going to be able to back it up, and with IG sending a big statement here after that first match, and Erangel being one of their slowest maps yesterday, I want to see if they can actually back it up as well there.
Oh, I missed. So there actually were legitimately memes about Team Liquid on the timeline? That's a real thing? That's crazy.
For sure.
That's wrong.
You gotta make sure you end up following memes by Kainat. All right, that was just like on IG.
Yeah, send me his ad, because honestly, I had no idea. That's crazy to think of, though, Enigma, because Team Liquid, again, is still such a historic roster and team who's had great success, but a lot of questions, and valid questions, about can they continue to be successful, and I understand the memes, I do, but Enigma, that game 1 from Team Liquid was perfect. And in fact, I think today is the turnaround point. It seems like they finally got their legs under them.
The legs under him, second place. You can't complain about it, but we're talking about different zones. Let's just do 3 milli zones here. We got the back-to-back-to-back Erangels, the mental chaos. Let Team Liquid drop milli. Let the zones come to them. Let's see what kind of numbers they can put up in all 3. Because yesterday, I felt every team was playing center. Everyone was making the same rotations, finding themselves right next to each other, and really not taking any early engagements like we saw all of last year for some of these Latam and Brazilian squads. So for our squads, even NA, I know Wolves, X-Force, they like taking their time getting into some of these zones, but I feel like they're taking a little bit too long to find their engagements. Our teams need to find their successful moments early on to get their feet under them, because like what Seven said at the start, X-Force, that Sandhawk drop, you did not want it to go that way. And for that sort of squad, needing to get points badly, you cannot be losing these fights early on. I'm not sure if we're really going to be seeing too many hot drops today when it comes to Erangel here, Seven, but I didn't think we'd see any more than boot camp yesterday compared to today. And today in that Sandhawk, we just saw 3 or 4 teams fighting off drop.
Yeah, for X-Force, one thing that went well yesterday in regards to Erangel is they were always able to back it up with at least some type of eliminations. Even if they ended up getting knocked very early on, it didn't matter. This team was able to at least exit with 4 to 5 elims. So I obviously, congrats on being able to get those elims. I don't want to see that today. I want to be able to see you being able to place later on as well and continue on that road, because we want to see NA back on top. It might take a little bit longer, but I'm trying to get back on this NA hype train.
That's nice to hear you say that, man. That's great. I NA on top, baby. Eco, lead the charge. McGrellin, lead us to victory. You come from Alpha 7, the best team in the world. I believe you can make Eco one of the best in the world without question. Hey, chat, we've been doing this thing where we have a giveaway, and I think it's about time to do that giveaway. Let's pull up the Amazon code. It's time to win. Make sure you're quick with the fingers, man, because there's some people out there in the chat that have been locking in every single code. They've been cashing in and cashing out. It's time to get a new winner. But hey, if it's the same winner, it is what it is, because they're just better, all right? But there's the codes. We're going to have them going throughout each of our drops. It might happen during the fly-through, right? When we show the map, that's what the fly-through is. When we show the map, the plane's going over, and that's the fly-through. We might have it there. We might have it here. You never know. Just make sure you're paying attention and listen to us a little bit, all right? Listen to us a little bit, because we know and we like what we're saying. Brazil, though, been on fire without question, and Alpha 7 now has a chance to reclaim gold. Enigma, one of the things about Alpha 7 yesterday, at least on Aaron Gale, top 3 out of the 3 times Aaron Gale was played, but they did so in tremendous fashion with, I believe, a total of 21 eliminations from Map 2 Aaron Gale and Map 4 Aaron Gale. Looking to do much the same here. And the good news about them is they're never challenged on their drop spot.
Yeah, and I think for the most part, it's just that respect the other squads give. Maybe you need to have that sort of disrespect towards Alpha 7 later on in the match. I don't expect you to be going for that hot drop right early on against that squad, but taking that engagement to that team might be that sort of deciding factor. I believe on Miramar yesterday, we saw Wolves catching out Alpha 7, 1 or 2 players on rotation, both maps. So it's definitely a squad that are not the gods in the lobby. They definitely can bleed like the rest of us. That's a team that can fall under the pressure, and especially after seeing a 4-point game start today, they're coming into the interview saying we have the recipe to success. The problem is, and I know, Seven, you can agree with me on this, when you're the top team, everyone's going to be looking at you.
Yeah, everybody's going to be trying to hunt you down, and we've been talking about in regards to rotations, how our team is going to be able to adjust. In that last Sandhawk, you're really not able to see much because of just the way the circle ended up working. And on top of that, just because it's absolute madness, right? This is usually why I end up liking Sandhawk being in the middle of the day, not at the start. But that's neither here nor there. This is where we'll actually end up seeing, if we do end up getting any circles close to what we saw yesterday, which teams went back and did their homework at night.
Let's find out as we hop into map number 2. We're on Aaron Gale, and it's going to be familiar for the next 3. We got Aaron Gale, back to back to back, but a good chance for a team that's good on this very map, which should already be the bread and butter for the competitors out there. Hey, this is a chance for them to catapult themselves up the leaderboard. Alpha 7, looking at them, I think they're going to be fine. But Enigma, you called out 3 military base zones. Hell, we might have one here, and Team Liquid likes military. They were on fire map 1. Let's see if they get it this time.
Hey, they're already landing there as well. They're set up for success. I believe it's only going to be 1 squad potentially dropping on the island with them. Yesterday, they had a bit of trouble crossing the bridges, it seemed, in each of the matches, especially that sort of mill-to power end zone. Unfortunately, these teams, a lot of them know the playbook. Aaron Gale has been played so many times, and I like to bring up the idea of this dirt ball factor. I know Dave likes to call it the snowball, but when you're playing 3 Aaron Gales in a row, we saw it yesterday with Alpha 7, when you have a good performance on the first one, typically the next 2 you will find success as well. So I'm interested in seeing today what kind of changes, what kind of shakeups we'll see out of squads. I'm not sure if people really change their drop spots like Sandhawk going into this first match at Aaron Gale, but anything's possible. Unfortunately, the first zone here, Taylor,
It's okay.
and it's a small sliver of hope that Millie start.
Very small, but if we get it, we get it, and I'll call you a wizard. On the left-hand side, what's the good news? Well, the good news is for Royals of War, Wolves, 9Z Globe, and X-Force, shoot to survive. They're all going to be in the zone as it is. Royals of War have kind of the better option as they're going to be nearly dead center. Loops as well. Loops, though, no surprise. They love to be center zone. Their positioning is great, kind of akin to what I would consider for Team Liquid and based off their positioning. But military is where TL goes, joined by AGG. We most likely won't see them fight again, but going back in time, Seb, remember AGG versus Team Liquid? Team Liquid is pushed back over the right-hand bridge. Wolves is the reason for that. Team Liquid backs up. AGG get into this epic fight in the house, and it was Team Liquid who won, but both teams kind of cannibalized each other. Hoping they avoid each other on military. I mean, it's big enough for the both of them.
Yeah, it should be, especially with the circle. I think AGG more than likely is going to try to end up rotating towards that eastern bridge. And TL, if they do their usual stuff, especially with this kind of circle, they should end up going towards the western bridge. Unless they want to be fancy, unless they want to be something, end up doing something crazy, or maybe somebody's bridge camping it. That's when we end up seeing maybe some boatations or something a little bit different. But now I heard Enigma saying, if you know what, a dirt ball. If you're able to do semi-good here in the first match, second match of Aaron Gale, and the third one, you might be able to do even better. One team that was able to do that yesterday was Row. I mean, the first Aaron Gale, 14th place, the second one, 4th place, and then the third one, 3rd place. So if you ever wanted to see a dirt ball, I feel like that's exactly what you were talking about, Enigma.
Oh, yeah, the dirt ball. Dave hates it when I say it. Same thing with my socks and sandals at the beach. He doesn't enjoy it. I'm just a weird one, I guess. But for these teams right now, especially,
that's wild.
The interesting thing is you were talking about, I don't want to hear it from either of you, okay? For
What
Rose
do
of
you do
War, at
when you get
least,
sand in your toes? Like, what? Go on.
it's a different,
Go on. Sorry,
it's a different
don't let me
experience.
stop
But,
you.
yeah, but for Rose of War, I'm a little bit concerned. Obviously, they dropped Gatka, right? They had the prime position. They've got the real estate kind of right under their fingertips. The issue for me is if one of these squads, like I'm seeing right now, 9Z or X-Force, if they choose to rotate early on, you could get caught out in the open playing one of these compounds solo. I really hope that Rose of War, especially having that sort of snowball factor, that dirtball factor coming in yesterday on the Aaron goes, I hope that they really don't start the game off as a 3-man. We've seen it struggle with a lot of these teams where they lose a player early on solely off the rotation. In the early game, Team Liquid as well, coming to mind yesterday onto the Wolves squad. So hopefully a lot of these teams, we keep bringing it back up. I'm fine with being the broken record in this regard. Need to see the VOD review, need to see the changes. And for a lot of these teams, they're needing to get the points because at the end of the day, whether it's you finishing in first, third, those advancement points will matter at the end when it comes into the finals. You want to secure yourself the highest placement possible. And for a lot of these teams, you're wanting to perform like Alpha 7. You want to perform like Intense Game. You can't be leaving it up to you just hopefully performing well. You got to take matters into your own hands.
Well, Rose of War, we're on board with them. It's going to be relatively quiet. They've split up a little bit, but they can converge back together pretty easily. Once again, Rose of War took advantage of the zone, stage 1, getting center zone. So did Loops, so did 9Z Globin. But potentially a story setting up between those three, as they're all going to be relatively close together. And of course, as we know, as the stages start to collapse, the teams will get closer and closer. So a real chance 9Z Globin, Loops, and Royals of War potentially find themselves in an engagement with each other. For the other rosters, they're slowly trickling in, making their way in for stage 1. You've got a couple of stragglers on the outside. Alpha 7, VIP, you've got United for Gaming, Savage, who's going to be all the way over on the right-hand side. So it's going to be relatively quiet, and 7, you were spot on. Team Liquid's going to be taking the Western Bridge, HG most likely taking the Eastern Bridge, where they could potentially get into an engagement with Savage. Speaking of Team Liquid, let's get on board with them. And, it's a slight chance, but Wolves might be setting up already to have a repeat of the bridge fight.
I was hoping you would notice it. I was hoping you would end up calling it out. I wonder if we're going to get a little bit of a mimic here. And they're starting to realize it, too. Oh. Look how quickly they slowed down. They were like, hold on, boys. I think it might be happening again. I think they might be setting up a trap for us. So let's back our butts up and let's take a little bit longer here and see if we can maybe find another way to get in. Wolves just stopping Team Liquid once again. And this is the thing, right? Now, what are you going to be doing here for this team? Now, are you going to be forced to go towards the Eastern Bridge and maybe end up taking a 5? A timing ends up aligning correctly against AGG. Little things like that here and there. Enigma, you're an ex-player. I kind of want to pick your brain a little bit more in regards to this. Would you have waited a little bit longer and see if Wolves maybe ends up clearing that place and then you end up rotating on the Western side? Or do you end up just saying, you know what, screw it, we're going to go on the Eastern side?
I think you got to fully disengage. Wolves Esports, one of those teams that is fine playing the 3-4 circles out in blue zone. If they get those, at least even 3, if not all 4 eliminations onto a squad like Team Liquid, it gives you loads of confidence. And for Coops to be able to potentially get those eliminations under his belt early on, that's the kind of play you want. And I'm actually seeing it right now. Wolves, I believe, turning immediately back around, potentially taking an engagement with one of the Brazilian squads. Team that definitely is needing points. Both of those teams really essentially just elimination hungry, I think, in my eyes. And with Wolves, we saw that they didn't want to play so nervous. They didn't want to play so passive like they did yesterday. For that team to be kind of sticking true to their word from Juancho's interview, it's a good sign to see.
Well, Team Liquid's back on military as we saw earlier. Wolves, Vios Gaming close to each other. Loops is still out there. Yeah, I think Loops and Vios potentially. Vidden is by himself. He's separated just a little bit from Rafina and Zelda, and Vios Gaming could take advantage of it, but they're all in their vehicles. I don't think anybody wants to jump out and engage just yet, but it wouldn't surprise me if Loops might be the aggressor in this fight, but with Gustavs off at a distance, Rafina also not by him. Yeah, they're going to go ahead and set up inside the compound in the building. I believe the roaming is done. The looting up might be done as well. Now it's time to get serious. Get your compound locked down, and now start playing the gatekeeper role to all the other rosters that are coming in, or else you start getting shot up and you start getting taken down. And for Savage, that might become a reality. Savage taking a couple of pop shots, and that looks to be an intense game. Who's going to be holding them back off on the eastern portion of the map?
Oh, we have hope. We have hope for the Millie Zone, guys. I'm going to be the delusional one here. Team Liquid, they could stay on this side. The only issue is going to be AGG coming in. We thought they were going to take that Eastern Bridge. Now they're going to share the Western Bridge with Team Liquid. They might be able to make that rotation later on if they're able to concede the bridge and go out into Blue Zone if it does go to that north side. But Seven, I know you're thinking it's going to the mainland. You and Taylor both. I'm a Millie believer still.
You know what? I'm not even thinking the mainland. I'm being even more toxic, Enigma. I want to see a bridge finish.
A bridge.
Okay? It has happened, and it's usually absolutely wonderful. A team that would end up benefiting, that I guess if we're going to continue on that train, would be Team Liquid. A team that definitely needs to benefit of this fight. It's going to be none other than Exports as they're going to be going over. And 9Z, you got none other than a glider. Not a glider, just that vehicle right there coming in. Fate does end up getting knocked. Valak ends up getting knocked. And what it looked like to be an X-Force win here as they ended up getting the first knock, it goes complete opposite. And 9C Global ends up taking the fight and getting the whole compound.
Well done, 9Z. 9Z putting up a great fight. Well, at least trying to. Remix running into a little bit of an issue, unfortunately falling himself. This is a wonderful fight, and the reason why is because this compound is going to be well within stage 3 and potentially even further on. So if you are able to successfully win, hey, you're in good company, and 9Z looks to be in good company, at least by themselves, although they do lose at least a couple of players. Joe, they don't lose anybody. I apologize. 4 eliminations, big win. Now VIP might be rolling up on them. But 9Z, a team that you were highlighting quite a bit yesterday, 7, pulling up and looking good in game number 2.
One team that was actually able to readjust in a way. They have all the 4 players ready. Remember yesterday on the first Erangel, Alpha 7 was able to find them a bit split apart. One of the players ended up getting eliminated, and then they were kind of forced to do something completely different. Not the exact same circle, but it is kind of the exact same area here. They were all ready for it. They were definitely looking for somebody to crash into that, and those are little things here and there, whether it was because of their VOD review that they ended up doing. Those are things that is just gonna end up securing them 4 more placement points, and on top of that, you get to chill for the longest time. I'm intrigued to see what Wolves is gonna be doing there in that position, and we saw one of the players just driving around trying to figure out if IG was gonna be able to do anything. In VIP, the team that is currently in 15th place, looking to loot up even more Enigma and see if they can maybe clutch up some more points, because 15th place is not where you want to be.
Yeah, 16 total points under your belt. Obviously, we've only played 7 matches, but coming into this match, they're really hoping that they get some sort of either Western or Southern shift. They're on Ferry Pier currently. Now, if it ended on a pier, I'd be good with that, to be honest. But that's taking a lot of wishful thinking, especially for the likes of VIP. And with that being said, it of course hard shifts all the way northeast. Savage having the best position in zone. Pachinkiel essentially free for the taking. And we see every single player on this west side, whether it's Alpha 7, Inco, everyone going to have to make this do or die send either through the center of the circle or around the edge. And a lot of these teams, I'd be worried taking these engagements because we know it's never going to be that 4v4, right? It's going to be multiple squads taking engagements with you. And right now we're looking at Inco Gaming, who had a solid performance last match, them being right on the edge of the circle. They got to be the squad that's able to gatekeep. They got to be able to control this hillside to make sure that these 2, 3, maybe even 4 squads don't take the fight. And now they're forcing it, Taylor, on the Royals of War.
Oh, it's about to be crazy. Inco on the Royals of War. Royals of War is getting picked apart left and right. You also have United, who's going to be United for Gaming, who's going to be off in the distance. Alpha 7 looked like they wanted to get scrappy and move on in. Royals of War, though, had a couple of stragglers from the outside who weren't inside the compound that Inco crashed on, and they're going to be able to back McGrellan and co. off. But Inco has already struck while the iron's hot. They got a couple of eliminations. And let's not forget, they're coming off a wonderful game number 1. And boys, Inco has jumped up to top 5 based off their results alone. They're on fire. They're looking strong, and they're representing North America incredibly, incredibly well. This could be a wonderful game coming out from them, and who knows, maybe even another top 3 finish. Things will settle down for just a little bit. The question is, will United for Gaming decide to crash in on the Inco roster just ahead of them?
Inco Gaming, you know what? Do what Enigma was saying earlier. Keep that dirt ball going. Let's see how big we can get it. Because if they can get another good match here, I mean, you're going to be able to hopefully end up securing at least the top 4, depending on what happens there with Influence Rage or Loops, teams that are still alive as well. But for them to be aggressive, this is what you want to see out of these teams. This is another team, United for Gaming. We know that they definitely need those points. United for Gaming is going to end up fighting at least one player there from Inco Gaming. Are they going to be looking to make the push? And that's exactly what they're going to be doing. You can see Vitali getting ready with those grenades, switching it out. Is he going to be able to knock anybody here from United for Gaming? He is going to be able to connect with one. King turn around. He's going to get the second one, trying to make it 3. They're not being able to. There's still 2 players alive from Inco Gaming. McGrillen trying to spot somebody from United for Gaming, but it might be a little bit too much for him. It's just going to be a 1 versus 2. And there you go. Inco Gaming continuing on the dirt ball. Make it even more eliminations, but they need to be careful because 9C Globin is pushing in.
9C is coming in. They even have a hovercraft that's going to be off to the left-hand side. Remix. Milos is going to have an off angle. This might be the end, and it will be for Inco. But give them their flowers. They took down 2 teams. They crashed in a Royals of War. They then took down United for Gaming, who had no choice but to push into them. And then 9Z happened to strike when the iron was hot, exactly when Inco was still recovering from the 2 previous fights against United for Gaming and Inco. So in my mind, that's still a big win for Inco. I personally don't think they did anything wrong. 9Z just knew when to strike, and they did so appropriately. Now they've got to push in, which is going to be Loops just ahead of them. We transfer our attention to Team Liquid. Last time we were looking at them, Enigma, they were coming across that bridge. They were pushed back from Team Wolves. Now they've got Wolves still to deal with, but also they've got AGG that they're trying to finish off. And this is a rematch, a revenge fight from yesterday's competition on Erangel.
Yeah, and for Team Liquid, they actually rotated last zone. It wasn't like they came in just now. Unfortunately, they might have pulled an X-Force mistake, realizing that they didn't realize that a team like AGG was on their backside across the bridge, making it a 1-for-1 trade. It's not like it's a do-or-die play just yet, but for Team Liquid, having to have Wolves to your west, Intense Game to your east, and AGG at your backside, it really limits you on how you're able to rotate. We could see it as well here. Charlie just... I mean, this is kind of a grief play on a Team Liquid, to be honest. There's not much other counterplay you can do. You've got to go at least for maybe the elimination on one of the buggy players, at least a tire potentially, but not going to find it. And I'm interested in seeing where Team Liquid actually goes, because looking at that map feed and stuff like that, I know that there's not too much room to play. A lot of this zone is going to be that southern Pachinki field, if not everything on the mountaintop. So these teams right now, Taylor, I think they're going to start dropping like flies. They're going to start really piecing themselves out on the edge of the circle here, looking for even just a rock to play behind for this circle shift.
Well, Team Liquid's looking for even more than that, aren't they? They're pushing up, they're getting aggressive, and they're going dead center. This is a classic Team Liquid play where they love to just full send it in between everybody, parting the teams, and take dead center zone, and they're going to be successful in doing so. Still a 3-man unit. They're set up nicely, and they're looking to go back-to-back. They saw the memes, and they want to prove the memes wrong. They said, look, guys, we're still Team Liquid. We're as strong as ever. And after that game 1 and potentially this game 2 finish, I'm starting to believe the redemption arc is fully underway. On board with Alpha 7, what are they up to? Well, they got 9Z Globit, the team that took down Inco Gaming just a little bit ago, and they got Influence Rage just up ahead there, 7.
And if Alpha 7 is going to be able to clear 9C, that's going to be massive for this team. We'll see if that is going to end up happening. We know this is a team that likes controlling a big area, and especially with these rotations that they've been able to do now, forcing Rebel to just use up a lot of utility. 9C, remember, they got the hovercraft from X-Force earlier. Are they going to be able to use it to their advantage as Alpha 7 now trying to realize, what are we going to be doing here? Are we going to just commit to this fight even though Rebel is at a disadvantage, or do we want to move on about teams that are currently just trying to feel out? Nobody really wanting to hop out of their vehicles and go for the strike. There you go. 9C's wanting to, but they might not be aware that Rebel's currently on the off angle. Rebel not being able to fully connect with the shots right there, as he got very close to almost knocking that 9C player. And Alpha 7 now wanting to be a little bit more aggressive, taking matters into their own hands, taking the fight towards 9C.
Yeah, and this is a big moment, even with the damage, with the hovercraft and the finish. Oh man, Alpha Carrillo, I'd like the play. It's just how do you counterplay that? The hovercraft just full send. He basically covered up the whole screen.
Bro, you can't. How are you going to counter a hovercraft in a car? The hovercraft takes you down. The car finishes you off. That was that was disrespectful. I'm just going to be completely honest. That was highly disrespectful, man. But you know what? I'm here for it. The disrespect is good sometimes against your competitors. And for Alpha 7, they are fuming. They just lost a player like that. but no time to really dwell on it. You've got 9Z Globe who's pushing up onto your position. They've got a car, best case scenario, they re-rotate, and they're going to do exactly that. Now, Loops potentially having to face off against a hovercraft, and I'm getting worried for him just like I was worried for Alpha 7-7.
That's right. With Loops here, I think they were trying to find an opening to maybe get into the fight there between 9C and Alpha 7, but it didn't really offer itself. And what ended up happening to Korea, to be completely honest, I think he still thought that 9C was going to be within the smoke, and that's why you saw him being able to get out and start shooting automatically towards where the smoke was. And he's like, I got knocked by a hovercraft. Okay, boys, I'm dead. Just got a double whammy right there. Wolves is getting eliminated as well on the elimination feed. Currently now down to just 2 players. Team Liquid, though, I'm enjoying what I'm seeing, at least from the elimination feed out of that team, getting some eliminations, getting some knocks here and there, and Juancho trying to get out of this situation, but running into the tiniest hay bale.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, you can't destroy that just yet in the match, but they left Doran in the back trying to get an elimination, getting the knock, I believe, on Afrede, but not able to get the thirst. Going to be a solo now for Wolves, and a car on fire. Get away from it. Juancho running in the open. Cardozan trying to get the shots. Will be able to connect. Wolves, 5 eliminations. Really a tragic story, to say the least. They were forced on that southern edge in the field, reigning supreme. But now we're back to the north side here, Taylor. Alpha 7 forced to deal with the hovercraft yet again. Milo's just really full sending on the mountain. And now at least they have Revo alive. They've got Squash as well. Both of their top hitters. Can Alpha 7 still make the most in this 2v4 spot?
Yeah, during the Titan series, we saw a lot of hovercraft action. Actually, it was X-Force who was utilizing the hovercraft so very well. Nice to see it coming back into play. It was sorely missed during our 3 games of Erringel yesterday. In fact, I don't even think we saw a hovercraft maybe once. If we did, it was just for a fleeting second. This time, it's taking a front and center moment on our screen. Loops, 9Z. Still opposite of each other with Alpha 7 potentially wanted to get a third party. And that's kind of going to be their game plan. I mean, with only 2 players, they're a little bit in shambles. We've lost now 6 total teams. We're down to our top 9. And things are starting to get a bit dicey. And again, more focus has to be here. Zada is going to manage to pick up 1. Milos is going to try and utilize his nades to take down Rafina, and Ko, who's going to be just up ahead. And for the hovercraft, well, it's going to be down and out. And now they're looking for revenge. They're trying to run him over like he was running everybody else over, but it might not matter because the nades are taking him down slowly but surely. And 9Z, I believe, are on the out. But can Remix clutch it up? No, sir. Loops clutches. They're taking the fight. And now at 7, is this where Royals of War or Alpha 7 go in and attack?
For Alpha 7, I mean, this team is always looking to third party, so yeah, more than likely they are going to be looking to do that, even if they are down 2 players. You can see their squads being surprised, though, by the Loops players. And the thing is that with Alpha 7 now pushing, allow Influence Rage to make that push as well. Third party after third party after third party. And what we saw there, 9C being a little bit dominant with the hovercraft, that's not going to matter anymore because it's gone. Royals Award trying to get into the action as well, but I mean, Loops, to be honest, even though they might not have an insane amount of eliminations, with the 6 elims that they've been able to pick up so far, this is massive for this team because it didn't look like they were going to be able to really do much from the position that they were in. And there you go. That is it for Rafinha, but 6 elims for Loops, at least something for them to be happy about.
Yeah, but now it's just this 1v2 scenario. At least he's got this ridge to work with. 4 Royals of War. We're talking top 6. Every placement matters here. A lot of these teams losing those casualties early on, and now we're seeing it as well. The duo is starting to feel the pressure from these 4-man squads that set up early. Savage having smokes, having just nades pulled out in the open. I'm surprised no one else taking shots on him now. Forced to get in the vehicle, but Chief, the self-nade. I'm not sure what happened there, but now we're down to the duo of Team Liquid here, trying to hold off 2 whole squads, cresting over the mountain, make it 3 actually. Oh my goodness. Intense game. Savage and Shoot to Survive, all 3 craning down on your squad. 7, your Team Liquid, I think you got to just find a safe spot at the end of the day. You got to disengage from this fight.
Well,
not even that. Team Liquid had a bit of a 2-1 split there at one point. Instead of them having just deciding to be all together, they thought it was going to be the smart play. But with so many teams just having vehicles here, with this terrain too, that these teams are having to work with, it did not end up working out. Luckily for them, they still have Cardozan, they still have Ayala, 5 eliminations to their name, and currently in a top 6 situation. And if they're maybe allowed the other teams to fight each other, that could be wonderful. But one thing I do need to mention, and I gotta give them props, even though we really haven't heard much from them this whole match, is IG, the team that is currently in first place, the team that I was wondering what they were going to be doing when it came down to Aaron Gill, just because of the bad performances that they had yesterday, still alive. 3 players, 2 Illims. This is what I want to see from IG. I want to see some differences, especially for not just IG, for some of the other teams, but at least one team that is finally being able to showcase it.
Yeah, the good news for them is they can stay on the low side and, again, allow those other teams to just fight it out and continuing on for their placements. The thing they're trying to do is outpace Alpha 7, right, to continue to maintain first place. After all, it's more money in their pocket, but more importantly, more pressure on the top dogs of Alpha 7. But they've already matched the energy. A7 dropped out in 8th place with 2, and now Intense Game is going for potentially back-to-back, which would be special because that's 3 wins in a row potentially, starting from yesterday going into today's game. Padrino, Intense Game, and Team Liquid still stalemated. Padrino is like a snake, inching forward, closer and closer to Ayala as well as the other teammates. And I say, man, Padrino is deadly in this spot. Cardozo and Ayala, if they're not ready for this, they're both gone. Intense Game pick up another 2, and then they have that hillside to look down on everybody else.
Yeah, and
they have nothing really to worry about in regards to behind them. So this is the smart play here. Let's take a look at what the next circle is going to be like. Oh, okay, we have 2 airdrops. So at least we have some cover from depending on what Savage ends up doing there. You can see Influence Ridge there towards the north, just scouting around. Okay, Savage is going to be safe. Ayala and the squad, the 2 duos there from Team Liquid is going to be safe as well. Now they're going to have to start worrying a little bit more towards the east. And I wonder if they're just so confident. They're really not expecting it. The grenade going to be coming in and it's going to end up connecting. You were saying it. Reflections, Padrino being sneaky there, and he ends up connecting in a big way with Ayala.
Oh, and Ayala's completely gone. Cardozo last alive. This is where IG is going to start to tighten the vice grip. They managed to get 1. Now they know they've got the numbers. They're going to continue to push up. No third party really to challenge them. You maybe Diego off in the distance, but for Cardozo, he's just all by himself. And the question is, when do you want to push up? When do you want to make the attempt? Well, for Adrian, a playmaker from yesterday with so many great moments is going to take matters into his own hands. Cardozo has to swing the angle, but he just can't cover them all. And Team Liquid will be finished off in 6th place. 5 eliminations, though. They have made great leaps and bounds from their performance yesterday to today across the 2 maps. I'm still happy with them. But Enigma, with Intense Game winning that fight and officially taking over this hilltop, talk to me about where they're currently at. Are they in the power position to win this game now?
Oh, they are, and I'm really surprised Shoot to Survive, even as a duo, they didn't try to look for that third party. The only chance Intense Game gets weakened here is if there's that sort of third party potential. Influence Rage, they're a duo. I expect them to play passive, but for this team to be right underneath you, you should have gone up for that aggression. But now they're wanting to play the passive game. Savage Esports could potentially weaken the numbers. They have those 4 players still left alive, but the issue with this is we're talking at stage 7. After this, we go into stage 8, a small circle shift, and then it goes into nothing. This hillside, really, if you're someone that's not Intense Game or Savage, you're really just hoping for placements at the end of the day. We're talking it's essentially 2 duos and a solo spread across the map, Rose of War being the solo on that western edge, and really just expecting if Intense Game can potentially pick off some of these players with the high ground, or will they allow Savage Esports to control the dominant force in the center of the circle. And Taylor, you brought it up with maybe the 3-peat. Obviously, we'll count yesterday's game with that sort of back-to-back-to-back, but Intense Game, they're looking on fire right now.
Without a doubt, and everybody's in shambles. 1 player alive, 2 players, Royals of War, potentially losing their last one, and they officially will. They'll finish off in 5th place with just 3. But yeah, Intense Game looking the strongest outside of Savage, who has 4 players, albeit 1 was just recently down, but so was another from Intense Game. But the good news for them, because of their elevation, yes, the shots will ring true, they'll drop, but they're going to be able to get their team back on their feet. For Padrino, he's going to be the tip of the spear. Shoot to Survive, starting to get active. Darklight to the left, Casper to the right. Padrino split right in between them, but Utility will officially back them away. In fact, that's going to be great to split the difference. Takes a little bit of damage off. A nade bounces a little bit too far. Casper has to separate, and now the 2v1 turns into distinct 1v3s. Intense Gaming, just like they did to Team Liquid earlier, pushing up together, covering too many angles to the point where Dark, Casper, they don't even know where to look. 7.
That's right. I mean, Shoot to Survive has been wanting to third party this fight for the longest time, has been wanting to fight IG for the longest time, but we're finally starting see why they weren't able to, and it's because Savage Esports just kept being a close eye on them and seeing if they were going to end up pushing up, seeing if they could maybe catch one of those two players getting a little bit too overextended. Intense game using that smoke gun to their advantage. And here you go, Adrian just going for it. This is the smart play. This is what they need to do, and they're doing it perfectly. They have the numbers advantage, they have the vehicles, and they're executing that perfectly. Nobody so far goes down from Intense Games, and now they get the chance to switch their focus over Savage and start collecting eliminations as well.
Yeah, that's a big win as well right there. Through the smoke, getting the player out of the vehicle. Savage really just underestimating the gun power that Intense Game has. They were able to get one knock in the back, but it's still a duo on that eastern side. And I believe it's actually just a 2v2v2. The Shack play with Savage, they're split. Intense Game having them paired up right next to each other, while Influence Rage holds this mountaintop on the north side. All of these teams kind of just up for grabs for anyone to take the win here.
Yeah, I think Influence Rage is in a power spot now as Intense Game had to go down the hill. I'm looking at Lorenzen to be the playmaker. Savage in that Shack, it's going to be great for the time being, but when they have to move forward, they're pretty much going to get mowed down. All eyes are going to be on them, and what's most likely going to happen is Influence Rage, IG are going to continue their fight, finish it off, and then Savage will pay attention, or Savage will be the last team they fight against, but maybe I throw that out the window. Oh, wow, there it is, Lorenzen. I said he was the guy to watch. Well, indeed he was, as he'll take down the last remaining members of Intense Game, who finish off in third place with 8 elims. Now Savage, what can they do from the Shack Enigma? Can they make it out? Can they finish off Influence Rage, or did Influence Rage just win yet another game?
My eyes are going to be looking at Snacks here. He's got that level 3 gear from the crate. I believe he's the one sitting on it. He's got to be able to apply some pressure for Mauer to get off this sort of Shack. Both Influence Rage players are just eyeing it with that zone timer. We see it in the top right, 1:30 left with Mauer being so close to the edge. He's got to move any second now if he wants to confirm himself this sort of 2v2 fight, and we see it now. Great overhead. Snacks actually getting an off angle. Lorenzen notices too late. Snacks wins the one, but it takes damage. Now Diego gets the trade. Shotgun shots through the smokes, and he's 1 HP, trying to get the last remaining damage. And Diego, the 2v2, reigns supreme. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Influence Rage, a duo for what seemed to be those last 3 or 4 circle shifts, winning out on top.
Winning out on top indeed. 8 eliminations for Influence Rage. Beautifully done. Even their mascot there to cheer him on. Good stuff. And good stuff from Intense Game as well. That was a great end game. You saw many moments where teams were forcing themselves into situations, taking over power positions. Intense Game on Team Liquid is a perfect example of that. Way Petrino was like a snake in the grass to push up to the last remaining 2 members on Team Liquid to take them out, to take over the hilltop, and then focus their attention on Shoot to Survive. Just a beautiful symphony of moments. But for Influence Rage, they take yet another game. And funny enough, Seven, they did this yesterday on map 2, winning map number 2 on Erangel. This time, obviously, they do it with 8 eliminations. Yesterday, they did it with 11. But now they're once again in the talking point. But let's face it, they never really left.
Not a bad pattern, right? That you want to see out of a team whenever they're able to just go back-to-back days, winning the first Erangel match. That is exactly what you want to see out of that team. And for them to just be, Enigma mentioned it perfectly, they were just chilling for the longest time with that duo. Nobody was challenging them towards the north. They didn't have to really worry about anything. And then when they found the positioning, when they found that area where they needed to push up, get those angles and get ready for that final part of the game, they were able to execute that perfectly. Another team that we gotta give some credit to, even though they didn't end up being in a top 3 situation. Loops Esports being able to finish here with 5 eliminations. I was hoping that they would at least be able to connect with more elims. It didn't end up happening, but great match here out of this team. And IG, once again, I mentioned it during the cast, I gotta mention it again, them being able to bounce back, get those eliminations, push the aggression here towards the end. Ultimately, they ended up getting a little bit screwed by their positioning, but overall, great performance here from IG after a back-to-back wins.
Yeah, wonderful performance indeed. IG, Diego, by the way, 5 eliminations, leading the stats when it comes to game number 2. Have plenty of highlight moments. Law, Law's been 0 eliminations here, but so many great moments. You can just pick and choose which one you wanted from yesterday, obviously today as well. Law always in the conversation and just outputting the damage with the roster. And you notice they did pick up at least a lot of eliminations throughout the game, but the majority coming from the end game. And in my opinion, that's when the best time, excuse me, to pick up your elims is towards the end. And in my opinion, Influence Rage did that perfectly. Intense game, walk away with 13. Their goal, once again, is to just stay above that of Alpha 7, and they do so by 10. So their lead will continue to grow. I believe they're going to apex the 100-point mark, if I'm not mistaken. But beautifully, beautifully done. Royals of War, from game number 1, where they didn't perform as well, to this game, a little bit better this time around, and as well as Team Liquid, Enigma.
Yeah, and for Team Liquid, I think it's just a good sign with how those zones went, having so many teams really just looking for your number, trying to get those eliminations on you, like Wolves Esports and stuff like that, for you to be able to get yourself into that center spot. Obviously, they got eliminated by Savage, who ultimately ended up second place. If they're able to in some way win that engagement, I guess you could say, as a duo or three-man, they could have definitely been one of those top 3 teams. But one team that we really got to give credit to again has got to be this 9th place squad. 9Z, 8 eliminations. They cleared house with one squad. They came around the north side, took the engagements full force on the mountaintop. And yeah, there was a lot of chaos going on. The hovercraft not adding anything less to that. But for these teams right now, I think the Erangel, a lot of squads are really happy with their engagements that match.
Intense game will take over first. Well, excuse me, will stay in first place at 96. Their lead grows. They don't break 100 points just yet, but they should be safely, to say, the first team to do so. Alpha 7 currently sitting in 7th. Influence Rage catching up, though. Influence Rage off that big win, inching closer and closer to breaking into top 2. They've jumped up a little bit, knocking Loops down, and a large reason why Influence Rage has done as well as they have is, again, Diego. Diego currently top 3 when it comes to overall eliminations for the entirety of the tournament for everybody. Law not too far behind in 10th place with 12 respectively. Who else are we looking at going down the list, Seven?
X-Force. I'm going to be looking at X-Force. They just keep going down that list, and not in a good way. They started off the day here in 11th place. After 2 matches, they're down to 14. Wolves as well. I mean, they started off the day in 10th place. They're down to 13. I want to see a little bit more out of this NA teams because they're not really being able to show me much. And something that I've been seeing too out of Wolves, and a big factor from that team has been Coops, right? We got a chance to see him yesterday being able to put up some eliminations for the squad. It was in Sandhawk when he was the last player. Ever since then, I'm being completely honest here. I can't think of a time that we have actually been able to see him being able to get more eliminations, or for us to be able to talk about him. For a player that of his caliber, I want to see a little bit more out of him.
Yeah, and he is a big talking point. We did have a moment yesterday where we talked about him in a big clutch spot. He was last alive. It was on Sandhawk map 1, but yeah, he's been quiet ever since, right? And you would expect him, of a player of his caliber, of his lineage, to be more of a talking point that he is, but maybe that's a deficiency with the team itself versus him as an individual player. But either way, it's a problem regardless that needs to be fixed. But Enigma, Inco's also been doing very well. They started the day in 5th place. They have maintained 5th place. After all, game number 1, 3rd place, 7 eliminations. This game, game 2, they finish off way earlier than they wanted, but 6 elims. Like, they have truly woken up from their slumber.
Yeah, and I think that's really attributed, at least those 6 eliminations, to that Sandhawk match. Them going out of their way, taking that fight against United for Gaming. That's a squad that's actively looking for these moments of success. You understand that, yeah, early on in these matches, maybe you're forcing yourself to look for these fights, but later in the match, they're trying to play for the placement. I think they've got a good understanding of how they want to play these matches. And in our eyes, of course, how we see it and the scoreboard shows it, I think they're doing pretty fine.
Well, 4 more games to go. That was our first Erangel of 3. Map 3 will be coming up after the break. As we do go into break, Sarpatch had a chance to sit down with Bruno, who we've talked about so much. Let's keep the Inco storyline alive. What did Bruno have to say?
All right, guys, here we are after match 1 with Bruno from Inco Gaming. We were very close. That zone did not bless us. It shifted to more to the left side. You were caught off on a weird position after that. How are you feeling after it?
I think that we do good movements in Sanhok. In the game conditions that we have, without low loot because we rotate very fast. We get mid zone 1, mid zone 2, mid zone 4, but Sanhok is this.
Yeah.
It's this is a crazy map. The zone can shift off you, and it's very hard to get another position and to get a position security. And in the end game, top three, we don't have smokes, but we do a good game. We constructed good, and if the zone help, we can win the game.
I believe you're gonna win at least one today. At least one, right?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's go.
Welcome back, everyone, to the 2025 Pmsl America Spring Season Day number 2. I'm Taylor Reflections, double joined by Seven and Enigma. 2 games completed, 4 more to go, and Aaron Gale back-to-back about to be underway. It's going to be a lot of fun, given the fact that Influence Rage is now on the up and up, getting to go huge win. Back-to-back days, they win game number 2, and they do so with a high number of eliminations. This Influence Rage roster is filled with nothing but veterans: Law, Diego, Lil Boy, Larazin. And Larazin, by the way, making great plays throughout his tenure on Map 2 on Aaron Gale. I expect him to do the same here. Diego is a player, though, Seven. What is he like? You know, obviously he's in the best region in the world. He's on one of the best teams in the world. Diego, a big playmaker, now inching closer to even maybe being one of our top slayers in the entirety of this tournament.
The crazy part too here, I'm not even going to tell you as a player. I'm going to tell you as a human because I got any chance to hang out with him. He is one of the nicest persons ever, man. Usually, like when you have fraggers, when you have certain players of that kind of potential, right? Sometimes You just see them walk a little bit taller. You just see them pop out their chest. You just see them act a certain way. I'm talking about Doc, by the way, for everybody watching. Doc is definitely one of those players. That's in CSA, by the way. But for Diego, he's super nice. He's super calm, super chill, and he's always wanting to improve. And I think we're starting to see that over and over again from this PMSLs, right? We saw what he was capable of last year. We saw what they were able to do as well when it came down to PMGC. And now here in this stage in PMSL America's 2025 spring split, we're starting to see this team just make the right decisions, because that's exactly what we saw there in that last Erangel. They didn't have to fight anybody. They just had to be patient. You saw them being in a you actually didn't get a chance to see him, but I was keeping a close eye on them. They were just getting into a vehicle, rotating around, just making sure if anybody was going to try to make a push, making sure that they had all their surroundings covered. And as soon as they heard a fight, as soon as they saw an opening, they moved up and make sure they cover all the angles. And ultimately, that's what ended up getting them the win.
Getting the win indeed, man. They're doing a lot of things right, and they're having some top star-studded players who are ending up at the top. Like I said, Diego looking wonderful. For Alpha 7 on Erangel specifically, Enigma, I've been talking yesterday to today about their long rotations. Like, these guys are not scared of starting on one side of the map and ending up on the completely other side of the map by stage 1, stage 2. What's up with that? They're one of the teams that take the biggest and longest rotations. Are they trying to cover as much ground as possible to potentially, end up slay heavy, or is it just situational based? Like, what's up with it?
I think there's this sort of mindset that happens with a lot of these IGLs as well, where it comes to, there's always this empty side of the zone. We're seeing a lot of teams, especially with those repetitive Western circle shifts, a lot of these teams opting to take the southern edge. Alpha 7, they realize, hey, we can take some blue zone. We can go all the way around, make that great migration that we like, I guess you could say, coining it as. And they've been finding themselves on these slower parts of the map. Now, obviously, that Erangel we just watched, 9Z came in, Loops rotated in from the compound that they had centered up. And ultimately, all three of those teams lost to the demise of Influence's Rage Duo. But for you to be able to make it into that circle shift is what you want. You want to be able to at least give yourself that opportunity to shoot your gun, not be getting third-partied from Narnia. You want to make sure you're actually able to give yourself that fighting chance. And for Brazil, it seems like every single time we look at them, they're putting themselves in those situations.
Well, it seems to be the case. On the dead side of the map, that's going to be your strongest. Besides, there is a caveat. Team Liquid, again, loves to just split the difference and go straight in between everybody to take center zone, which pays off. Pays off without a doubt. You know, Hate is a player I want to kind of highlight a little bit. And the reason why, coming out from United for Gaming, Hate is a guy that's towards the upper echelon of eliminations. But everybody else, 7, is way below him. And it brings up that conversation we had earlier about Revo. Revo being as strong as he is as an individual player, he's obviously backed up very well by the Alpha 7 roster. But as an individual performing well, you still need your team to back you up. This United for Gaming, I feel, can be so much better if they could support Hate a little bit more, much like Alpha 7 does to Revo.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the main things, right, for some of the players. We were kind of even talking about it earlier in regards to Wolves being able to do that with Coops too. For some of these players, they just maybe still trying to figure out what is their actual role. Even though they might have the role, they're still trying to figure out what they need to do to actually position their players in a way that they can excel. I mean, we have seen in the past, especially going back to NA, where you have Fate being the IGL. In the past, he decides to switch off from the IGL. He decides to become a bit more of a fragging power, and he ends up working out wonders for them. So this is usually what we tend to expect from some of these teams here at the beginning of the PMSL. I'm pretty sure when we get to the second stage, we might see a little bit more of that. Teams actually sitting and getting ready and being able to position their players where they can excel at.
All right, well, here it is. Map 3, excuse me, hopping into Erangel. It's going to be a fun one. Team Liquid last time around went to military along that of AGG. Looks like we're going to have much the same, but I will say that it was fun to see about the military base, not only from AGG and Team Liquid's perspective, is Wolves and their consistency to always pick the proper bridge to counter Team Liquid. That's been happening since yesterday. It happened today. I'm sure it's going to continue to happen, and I want to know if it's even intentional or it just happens by happenstance. And I honestly don't think it's happening randomly. I think Wolves are targeting, if not Team Liquid, at least trying to target the bridge players, camp it, and go for easy elims. Because if you do look maybe at Titan Series, Enigma, Titan Series, the bridge plays, there's always some congestion happening on the bridges during Titan Series. There's always some type of way to pick up a plethora of eliminations there. And I think Wolves are doing
Oh,
the same
yes.
thing. And look here, you also get your military base zone. You at least get 1 out of the 3.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm wanting. I'm interested in seeing now with Wolves. They made that early rotation to camp the bridge. Are they going to cross it immediately? Nova back in the day would not even loot their spot. They'd be going all the way to that western side of Millie base off the vehicle drop and just immediately hightail it for the bridge. So I'm interested in seeing how many squads actually decide to make that rotate. A lot of squads opting to either go towards Ferry Pier. We know obviously X-Force likes going on that western edge, but with Primorsk not being in the drop range, they might have gone all the way north, which really is a sob story in my mind, because when you go for that sort of Stalbert drop instead of Primorsk and it goes Millie, you got to go all the way across the map. You got to deal with every team in front of you. We had to deal with it back in the day, and we would drop Severny on Wildcard 7. You remember those days way back then.
Yep.
A lot of these rotations are just, they're fine-tuned for people to camp you out. And for Team Liquid, luckily, they won't have to be the ones dealing with camps from other teams. They can finally be the big bad bullies on the bridges if they choose to start camping for points.
Reflections, you ask, are they doing it on purpose? Boy, I do hope so. I do hope that is on purpose, because so far it's been working out for this team. Something that I kind of was looking at Alpha 7 right there, especially when they realized the circle that we're working with, and something that I kind of want to talk about earlier too, is they are playing different. Even though we've only played 2 matches so far today, something that I've seen different out of this team is that I don't know if it's because of the circle or what they've been having to deal with, as we see Ro being able to knock one of the Loops esports players there as they're trying to make the rotation towards Military Island, is that Alpha 7 is struggling to get towards the center of the circle when it comes towards those first circles. That's something that they were able to do very well yesterday, and they were able to adjust from that. Today, they're only having to play edge most of the time. Once again, I don't know if it's because maybe they're wanting to switch that strat. I know for sure in this one has to do with the playing path and with the circle that we got, as 9C Globan having to lay down and making sure that none of the players ends up getting no, as Ro doesn't give a damn. Ro is just driving straight down the middle and saying, we're going to go to our spot. This is Military Island, baby. This is ours. Thanks, Enigma, for calling that out.
Hey, I'll call it every day of the week, baby. But I know a lot of these teams, what was that, 3 squads just now driving across the bridge? Wolves as well, actually opting to swim across in the dead center of the Millie Island. And this is what I was wanting to see. How many teams are going to opt for that botation play? How many people are going to rotate early to set themselves up on the mainland for the island? Or how many teams are going to try to really wait it out in that blue zone? And we see it now, even 9Z, they're actually kind of struggling to realize where Rose of War opted to set foot on the circle. It's going to be this far southern side, maybe even a boat camp if any teams choose to rotate down on this far southern side. And I believe as well, it's looking like Primorsk might be another hot spot, that botation play coming into mind. The hovercrafts, I'm wanting to see it, to be honest, okay? It's a safe cross. It's not as weak as just a regular boat, even if you got the skin on it. Doesn't give it more HP. The hovercraft, wanting to see come into play. But with that being said, Taylor, I'm not liking the forces of N8. We're having X-Force driving right next to Alpha 7 on that far western side, and there's no other team in play. It's going to be just a straight 4v4 brawl of those squads.
Oh, Alpha 7 wants it. I know they want to take this fight, especially if they see it's X-Force. They're going to view them as weak, and they're going to push directly into them. And for X-Force, now's the time. Get in a boat, get in a hovercraft, anything. Disengage. Get across that water if you can. But Alpha 7's not going to allow you to rotate easily. They're going to gatekeep them. And in my opinion, this was a bit of a blunder. But no, I'd say that X-Force does manage to get into some type of vehicle. They're going across the water, and Alpha 7 didn't collapse on them as quickly as I thought they were going to. But developing even more so as Team Liquid versus 9Z Globan. 9Z landed on Military this time around. They had a feeling Military was going to be where the zone was going to end up. And, well, they ended up picking right. But unfortunately, in this case, they ended up going dead center of Military, which is where Team Liquid was already set up. And, well, TL has managed to pick apart 9Z one by one. And because of that, they only have 2 players to work with, and Remix is in dire straits. Consistent utility. Team Liquid pushing every angle they possibly can. Remix is dead, and now it's up to Kogoat to take on the entirety of the TL roster in front of him. We're talking 4 fresh and ready players, and they're not going to fall easily. Team Liquid control their landing spot. They control Military, and 9Z Globan are out 7.
And that's what we want to be able to see out of Team Liquid, a team that last year, whenever they were able to just hanker down, make sure that we're in the center of the circle, they took full advantage of it, showcasing it once again, why this can be such a dangerous team and why we were so shocked yesterday at the performance that they were providing us. Today, it's more of the Team Liquid that we expected them to see, as they already, I mean, they're top 6 in the leaderboard. Now we got AGG versus Vias Gaming wanting to take a fight here. We saw X-Force rotating out earlier that were able to make it towards Military Island, so that is good to see. 100, Charlie, are you going to be able to connect with this? He's not going to be able to, but Fran is going to be able to, as he ends up getting the knock. And meanwhile, AGG rotating around, trying to figure out where they're going to be going here, as we have a lot more teams running around. X4 Valley getting knocked, X4 Fate getting knocked as well. No, boys, what kind of push were you trying to do? You guys got a little bit, oh no, you guys got a little bit too impatient there and wanted to make a full push there towards the center of Military Island. I don't know how I feel about that, Enigma.
Yeah, it's just that rotation. They should not be expecting that compound in any way, shape, or form to be free for the taking. They took way too long on the rotation to get to the south side, and I feel bad for a lot of these teams really getting just too careless with these milli zones. I understand maybe it was free for the taking back in your own home region, but every squad now, when it comes to these sort of events, especially LAN tournaments, they're going to make sure you're keeping the basics standard. And these teams right now, they're jumping the gun, especially X-Force. They're not ignoring, or they're not, at least I guess you could say, taking in the information they should. They're just assuming what needs to be done. And unfortunately, it's just showing the fault in their plays. Rules of War now, they actually have 5 total eliminations as a squad, with it being only the stage 1 circle shift, us having 2 teams already eliminated, as well as 1 or 2 squads losing players. I think it just shows the lack of carelessness some of these squads are having, with it being this milli zone.
I want to say Alpha 7, they're on the rotate over towards Military, and the shots that are ringing in, that's coming from United for Gaming, who takes a page out of the playbook of X-Force and will go ahead and rotate in Alpha 7 themselves. And oh no, Squash is in the water, and he has no choice but to swim over. United for Gaming, however, I don't believe are going to be able to cross the water easily. They're going to have to take all their vehicles, go towards the left side bridge, and rotate in, which good news for them. There's nobody camping that bridge. Of course, they don't know that just yet, but now I say they don't have a way to cross the water easily. They find the boat. But now you waited a little bit. Squash is going to see them on the boat, and Alpha 7 is already going to be set up on the shoreline. This story's not over with yet. United for Gaming have to play this very carefully, 7, or else Alpha 7's going to wipe them out.
They want that elimination too. You can see them going straight towards that boat, trying to see if they can maybe end up spotting anybody. But as you mentioned it, Alpha 7, at least 3 players of Alpha 7 are going to be set here, and they need to be careful because Alpha 7 is going to be looking.
Oh, no.
He's calling it.
Okay, that's Squash. Yeah, Squash, you're chilling. You know what? Just stay under. Maybe be a little bit of bait towards your team. Alpha 7 trying to see if they can spot United for Gaming, and there we go. They're going to be able to spot them, and they're going to start shooting right away. They didn't even want to wait for them to get closer, and everybody from United Gaming decides just to jump ship. They don't even want to risk it, and Alpha 7 is like shooting fish on a barrel right now, just waiting for these players to end up popping up. They should be easy pick-up limbs here for Alpha 7, as now they're getting back on the boat and seeing if they can pick up Squash as well, and maybe run some people over.
There's no way VIP joins into this party, is it? Like, VIP is now at Ferry Pier. We've seen United for Gaming make the mistake. Does VIP make the same one? Take the vehicles to the bridge. I know it's scary to cross that bridge. Typically, teams are camping it, but there's nobody there. They don't know that we do. Squash is picked up, and Enigma, you think it was just, you think it was strategic to drop Squash out into the water and pick him up later on so he can then call out the rotate from United for Gaming if they decide to do it? Because he had a perfect vantage point, and because of his, most likely because of his call out, Alpha 7 was very well prepared to challenge United for Gaming before they got anywhere close to the shoreline.
We call those happy accidents when it comes to the competitive spectrum. Okay, Squash, unfortunately for United for Gaming, I don't believe they were able to see how many players were in that boat. So I believe they actually thought all 4 Alpha 7 players were going to be stuck in the water. Instead of it being just Squash, they only saw that one boat leave, not both of them. And after that, I mean, we all saw it unfold in front of us. One big mistake I think we saw from Alpha 7 is going to be allowing Mystic from United for Gaming to be able to keep rotating in the boat. He potentially could save his teammates in the water if he can find the shots onto Alpha 7. And one thing, you were talking about VIP taking the boat. They might have misheard you. They were going right towards that pier looking for the engagements. Unfortunately, not going to find the knocks. And now, wait a second. They're giving the free shots to Alpha 7. They're free-farming right now across the water. The boat explodes. I believe they even got one player close to being knocked. That's not... What happened to the bridge? What happened to scouting back in the day, okay? No one by the bridge right now.
Yeah, it's getting messy. It's very messy, and Alpha 7's very happy for this. They were the team to rotate
life,
first.
I feel like Reflections.
You what?
I feel like they're hating life because they're just causing so much damage, and they still are sitting at 0 eliminations. We saw United for Gaming. They ended up jumping out of the boat because it was about to blow up, and then when they saw the players like what we're seeing right now with VIP happen here, stopping them from getting the hovercraft, which is actually really smart from Alpha 7, they ended up just denying the eliminations. Now they're trying to see if they can actually secure some. There you go. At least now Rebel's going to end up getting one.
Wow.
There a couple. Yeah, he's got him. VIP's fried. Legend. Ayuya. Nowhere to go. Taking the hovercraft is just adding insult to injury. On to the other bridge fight. This is on the complete opposite side, on the right-hand side of the map. Shoot to survive, going against Vios Gaming. And let's also add an Influence, Rage, and Inko into the mix, who are going to be just dragging behind. And, well, this is about to be just a cacophony of non-stop eliminations. And the question is, who's going to pick up the majority of them? And let's also throw IG into the mix. IG is going to be gatekeeping Influence, Rage, who's about to start crossing. Now Inko's running straight in. Enigma. This is going to be like your typical bridge fight. This is why I love bridge fights. I really do, because at times you get so many teams stacking up. That's what we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 teams on the right side bridge.
Yeah, as soon as the zone connects, by the way, they're all going down to blue zone. None of them are making it, and it maybe is going to be one solo making the, I guess you could say, the Mad Max kind of full send across the bridge and then driving in. You're going to be coming in 1 HP, no squad mates. Why even bother going for the placement at this point? I want to see all these squads just drive out into the blue zone, go for those engagements, because right now we're talking 13 teams. 5 of them are right here in one spot. The rest of the squads, they're all sitting pretty in the next circle shift. They're not caring about this eastern bridge, which, by the way, that western bridge, we were raving about it. No one took it after the first zone. They all opted for those vehicle rotations, and unfortunately for them, Alpha 7 was the only team to really get the points for them. And every second out here, I mean, it's really just showing how many meds these people have. We're seeing Marlon working with 2 bandages. His teammate at least has some med kits to his name, but the rest of these squads, as soon as you take damage, they're actually looking for it. They're going to start using it like it's candy out here. Darklight now getting pressured on. Has the shotgun shots, but he's waiting in the smoke like a rat in the night. These teams right now, I mean, this is the plays you make when everyone starts gridlocking each other. They don't want to rotate. Everyone goes for those points. And Taylor, at least Influence Rage, they're actually keeping their numbers strong somewhat here on the bridge.
Yeah, they are. They're holding it down. And I do want to point out, Inko has made a hard rotate over towards the bridge where nobody is at. It's a big heads-up play. 7, it's a bit of a leap of faith for Inko, right? Because they don't have the overhead map. They don't know that nobody is camping that that western side bridge. So they're taking a leap of faith, but it's going to pay off.
Yeah, and I think once they get even a little bit closer, there you go. Now they're starting to get a little bit closer towards the bridge. They're gonna end up realizing, okay, boys, I don't think anybody's gonna be holding this. There was so much shooting going on that eastern bridge that is the right call. And honestly, once again, impressive play. Little things like this, impressive play there by Inko Gaming and showing why currently they are the top NA team when we end up showing the overall. Because of a little place like this, they're allowing themselves to, you know what, let's secure a spot possibly within the circle or at least inside the military island without having to fight our way in like all of these other teams are having to do. And they were able to make it in. Nobody ended up getting knocked. They didn't have to use any utility. And on top of that, they might even get an airdrop as well. So great heads up play there by Inko Gaming.
Now we see it, the Force 1v1, and what do you know? Both teams eliminated. Only one of them got the elimination. I believe it was actually one Vios Gaming player, Nunez, making it in, so we knew, at least I knew, all those players, they were done for. And going back to the Inco Gaming rotate, we see them now. They actually kept going to the far south side, which should have been X-Force's spot, right? Instead, they went to Rose of War, completely free on the south side. Now, unfortunately for Inco, there's not a lot of terrain, really. They can play too much, but seeing something a little spicy here. This north side Loops really has to be careful. Never mind. I know Team Liquid's there, but still, dealing with the pressure, dealing with the active play, I guess we could say, from Team Liquid, opting to look for this engagement early on. Unfortunately, they did lose Cardozo early on here, 7, but Team Liquid, through the eliminations they've gotten over the last 2 maps, I definitely feel them taking a good engagement here with Loops.
Yeah, with Team Liquid, I'm fine with them losing a player there earlier on. They're currently still set. They have that little height of, and not even a height advantage, right? They have a bit of a crater there in front of them, and they just have to make sure they fend off all of this utility that Loops is going to have to end up using on them, because they know that Loops is going to have to push in. Are they going to be ready, though, with this vehicle push? That is one thing. That is the only thing that you kind of have to worry about with that man disadvantage. And luckily for them, Loops as well does have 3 players too. Chief is getting ready with that grenade. Loops is going to be going around trying to get some different angles. Getting actually a little bit spicy here, as Alpha 7 might end up getting eyes on this fight. And if they're not, this is a perfect... Oh, no. Okay, Vitinho, don't do that to me. Don't scare me like that. I thought he was going to end up Molotoving himself. Nia Zelda being able to find a spot right there towards the towards the top of that little hill, not being able to connect with the grenade, and instead, Chief is going to end up connecting with the grenade. Great hold so far here by Team Liquid.
Yeah, Team Liquid, but also Savage, take them into account. They were in blue for a long time. They were all in a vehicle, all 3 of them. They ended up rotating down to the southern portion of the map, just behind that of Loops. And they've been third party in this fight, and now they're even going to throw their hand over onto TL. Interesting, though, for Loops is they left Rafina behind to be that off angle, and, well, it doesn't work out. And I'm curious why he didn't just push with his roster. Why not just full send it into Team Liquid? Utilize your numbers. Was he there as the anchor? Was he there as the off angle? Was he there just for a contingency plan? Maybe, I don't know, Loops loses their life. He can stay alive and go for the placement points. Either way, it didn't work out. You got to give credit to Team Liquid. They stay alive, but I'm with you, 7. I thought Alpha 7 was going to third party that a bit more aggressively than they did, but I believe they caught on that Savage was going to be coming in full send, and that's why they kind of pumped the brakes.
That's right. And I mean, I'm also scratching my head in regards to why Loops decided to leave Rafinha back there, because with the terrain change, they were making the push. They know that he wasn't going to be able to get any angles unless for some reason he wanted to try to get on top of those buildings, which just wasn't going to be happening. And Team Liquid, I mean, with this positioning, they're continuing to hold people off. Inco now having to find a way to make a push here towards Royals of War, but Royals of War defending it well. Inco players are starting to go down. Remember, Inco had to do a crazy rotation in, and now they're even sending it more towards the center of the circle. If they're able to find a spot here, this is going to be perfect for this team. They're going to be able to lay down and not really have to worry about anybody except Coops is waiting for them, being the little snake he is. This is what we want to see. Little plays like that from Coops, adding easy 2 eliminations to his squad, making sure that his squad is safe from the back.
Yeah, well done from Wolves, man. They end up sniffing out that situation, and let's face it, Inco was in damage control. Once they got wiped out, or a couple members got wiped out from Royals of War from the southern portion of the map, they had no choice but to go up north, try to find some real estate in military. Wolves, they were there. It's kind of what happened to X-Force earlier. They were running away desperately from Alpha 7. By the time they got the mainland, they had no choice but to try and take over the shoreline. They get there, and it's already established. Attention now on Wolves versus AGG, and Melgar in the hovercraft, and he's coming in hot. Straight into Wancho, straight into Dorian. Plus, let's not forget, Coops is on the off angle. The guy that just finished off Inco Gaming just a little bit earlier. Fighting around these plates is never easy, but AGG, they're going to get the first down. Might as well follow it up with the second. Doran, Coops, last alive. Matter of fact, it's just Coops in this moment. AGG are fighting this flawlessly, but they're not out of the woodworks just yet, because you got Alpha 7 and Royals of War, Enigma. It's pure chaos.
Yeah, and unfortunately for Wolves, as soon as I saw the circle shift, I was thinking in my mind the only way they lose this if players start dropping like flies. And unfortunately, AGG, the squad right next to you, was the team that took out Baton as your very first player. So AGG came into that fight with Wolves knowing exactly how many players were alive. And as a team that's desperately needing to get these points under their belt, the Millie Zone, maybe that's the shakeup this squad needed. They were taking that engagement with Wolves, and I'm surprised Melgar wasn't able to spot Coops there, but nonetheless, it's going to be only that matter of time, right, Seven, where Coops is going to get found out. He's going to have to go for either those 1 or 2 elimination points and really try to salvage this game, which in my mind should have been a top 3 from Wolves.
I honestly think he might end up waiting it. And if anything, if right now with AGG being so confident, Melgar didn't get a chance to see him, he's probably going to be like, okay, we might be all clear. He's still there within the zone. Now AGG is going to have to start pushing up. Coops, we might end up seeing the thing that I ended up calling out last time from you, which is you being able to clutch up even more points for your squad. This is what we want to see out of him. You saw him earlier on being able to pull out a nade and really thinking about it, wondering, do I even want to expose my location here? So far, he's showing that this is why he scoops. This is why everybody was so hyped up on him being able to come back to NA. Hopefully, he'll be able to make something out of this as Alpha 7 trying to get some angles. Royals Award, though, that's a team that I don't even know what Royals Award is going to be doing here. They got really no cover, and they only have very little vehicles to their advantage.
Well, good news is, though, all 4 of them's alive, and the zone, not too bad for them either. They can still stay on the outskirts, and they've got a little bit of this hill advantage. It's not much of a hill, but it's just enough to stop the fire from Alpha 7 or whoever else decides to put their attention on them. You got to benefit AGG, though. AGG, Alpha 7 have a tremendous advantage. And let's not forget Team Liquid still alive. They started a military, and they held their ground against 9Z Globin early on. And then they followed it up against Loops a little bit earlier. They're sitting at 8 eliminations. The question is, can they get more? AGG is going to put up a tough fight ahead of them, Enigma.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is going to come down to where this circle shift goes. Royals of War is really not wanting to slam Alpha 7 just yet. They want to make sure that that's the play where they can actually get a spot in the next circle shift, because if it shifts to this eastern side, they'd much rather be slamming on someone like Coops or potentially on that roadside that's on the southern edge of the map. And for these teams right now, I think we're really starting to see it now. They're understanding all the players are in the circle. They're really just going to kind of wait, see if anyone's going to get a little too over-eager potentially before the circle shift happens. But with it being kind of the slower moment, I think this is the moment where you kind of calm down as a team. You understand, you kind of get your decisions, your plans of urgency made before it actually happens, so you can come in prepared for this slam, for this team fight. We've seen a lot of teams yesterday where they were allowing the zone to control their decision making, allowing themselves to really suffer from the zones and from that timer in the top right. So now I think we're seeing it as well. These teams like Alpha 7, Team Liquid, they thrive when they have time to think. And even though we've seen their moments of brilliance coming through from them having those instincts, when they have that decision making under lock as well, like they have today, these are scary teams to deal with.
I think AGG ended up spotting Coops right here. He put out a smoke towards the street, and they automatically started looking that way. The vehicle's right there too, so they're starting to be a little bit worried of what's going to be happening, if anybody's even going to be there. So AGG, that plan earlier about Coops being able to be sneaky, maybe get some eliminations, just became a little bit harder for him. So AGG is aware that he's there, but if they end up overextending, Alpha 7 might end up getting angles on them too. They still have that hovercraft to their advantage. So if I'm pretty sure once this next circle is going to be end up popping up, they might try to get towards the middle, blow that thing up, and use it as cover. But first, they're going to have to deal with Coops, as Coops is still within the circle. Team Liquid's going to end up spotting the hovercraft as well. They're going to be taking shots. They have vehicles to their advantage, too. Remember, they took care of a lot of people, so they might end up having some utility to work with, too.
Smart.
AGG versus Team Liquid now wanting to engage, now having to engage, as Royals of War is also getting into the mix.
Yeah, they've got to push this fight. They knew once that zone shifted, they had no choice but to try and take down AGG. Rotating past them just wasn't going to be a possibility because they're very aware Alpha 7 is also up there off to their right. So facing off against AGG, taking their position is going to help them. But so far, not so good. They've already lost one player, that's Mythic, and now they're down to just 2 players to try and face off a very, very healthy AGG roster. 6 eliminations, 4 players still up, and more importantly, they've got the forward position, which means now Team Liquid still has to push into them. But with Mythic gone, Mythic was the tip of the spear, and he couldn't pick anything up, and Melgar takes down Chief, and it's only a matter of time before Ayala is going to fall either to utility, to shots, or to ultimately to blue. And he's not even going to be able to get this res off. I think he's going for one last-ditch effort. As soon as he apexes this little berm, he should get shot, but he's not going down without a fight. He'll at least drop Melgar. That's good news for at least Alpha 7, who can now potentially continue to hold AGG back. Again, Team Liquid, they made the right decision. The only way forward was straight into AGG. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out for him. But now the story continues, 7. Here's Coops, still alive.
He is going to still be alive. There you go. He's going to be able to end up connecting with one nade. Can he actually get that elimination after the knock? He's not going to be able to. He ends up surviving, though. And now he's making AGG life a little bit harder. Grenades are going to be coming in. AGG, with all the distraction that happened there with Team Liquid and now having to worry about Alpha 7 too. Getting a lot of pressure here, not only just from Alpha 7, from Coops as well. Coops having to make sure he stops and cancels that grenade. There's only going to be just one more player, and these are all placement points that he's going to be able to collect. Look at this now, a top 3 secure there by Coops. So people might have said in the chat that he was sleeping, that he was being not a factor towards this team, but he made the right play. He ended up sacrificing his team to secure extra points for them, and this little awareness stuff like that from a player of that caliber that I want to continue seeing. Even if the team is not performing towards the likes of what we want to see. One player can make a huge difference. Royals of War trying to see if they can maybe make a huge difference with those 9 eliminations that they have. It's going to be difficult, though, because Alpha 7 is really set up.
Yeah, and I think Royals of War, you might actually honestly have to push towards Mafioso or Revo. You can't allow it to be up to choice. After this, it goes into nothing. And in my opinion, when you have that player on the roof, you're really going to be struggling trying to push into the center of that last circle. Doesn't matter if you have the vehicles or the smokes, the utility Alpha 7 must be sitting pretty on this far western side of the zone has allowed them to just really crane over the competition. And I love the play. We got to bring it back with Coops playing passive, allowing Squash that's playing that northern rooftop to essentially be your teammate in that situation. Get the damage going on to AGG and secure the placements. I'm not sure if he's actually going to be able to get any more placements, but man, Alpha 7, they're getting way too aggressive with it right now.
I think it's perfect.
You know, you're loving it? You're loving it?
With that,
yes.
Well, you said it, right? Where was Royals of War going to go? To Mafioso. Like, they're going to try and utilize that rock. They have 0 cover. The only cover they have is where Mafioso is currently at. But Royals of War find an opportunity to drop Squash. And I don't believe he has been spotted, so he's just going to stay there. But the reality is Royals of War still have to push forward. I think Alpha 7's in a great power position, but it's going to come down to utility. Can Royals of War effectively connect? Can they take down Mafioso on that forward rock position? Because that's the next objective. They take Mafioso down, it makes their lives a lot easier. And by the way, chat, just an update, Coops is still alive, hanging out in the outskirts, trying desperately to secure a second place. But now we're in stage 9. This zone is going to collapse into nothing, and Coops has no choice but to finally get active, throws a couple utilities out there, and believe it or not, takes down Victus. He's still finding eliminations, and Victix is fully gone. Coops, a one-man army.
Coops making it happen here for Wolves Esports as he's trying to collect even more points, not just the placement points, making elimination points as well. And you were wondering, was I happy with seeing Alpha 7 had to push up there? Yeah, they kind of have to push up. I know they had those vehicles and they had those compounds being able to secure themselves. There you go. Coops ends up getting eliminated, being able to secure a top 3 for his team. Not bad there out of him. Mafioso currently not having any more grenades to his name. It is going to make his life a little bit harder. It is going to become a 1v1 situation. Him making sure it doesn't become a 2 versus 1 situation here. He barely has any armor to his name too. The smokes are going to start coming out, and I don't think Royals of War has any more grenades as well. This could be a massive pickup. You can see his teammate being able to just let go of all those nades that he has. They're going to be coming in. Can Mafioso connect? Almost being able to connect. Here comes the second one. And he does it with style, boys, turning the player camera around and showing his face saying, yeah, I know people have been down on me, but I'm still able to get those eliminations even though I'm the support player. Alpha 7 fighting back strong on game 3 of day 2.
And they will secure their 3rd winner chicken dinner of the 2025 Pmsl Americas spring season. 2 of those wins coming from Erangel, one of them from Sandhawk. But they're undeniably back on top because intense game ended up falling a little bit earlier on than they wanted. Alpha 7 most likely overtook them once again. They only lost first place for a couple of maps, but they managed to regain it in just the nick of time, Enigma.
Yeah, and for Alpha 7, I think it really comes down to having trust in your teammate. Instead of going for that revive, you said, hey, drop me those 2 frag grenades. I'm going to land a dime right on top of them. And for the most part, that first one did a little bit of damage. The second one secured it. And for Alpha 7, you got to have faith in your teammates, right? It's not just the Revo army. It's the Alpha 7 army in these lobbies. And for the most part, obviously, we see Coops as well at the end there. I was getting a little worried for Alpha 7. He actually knocked one of those players as he was coming in from the zone, not just that Rose of War thirst he had early on. So those players right at the end, man, showing why they are big names in this lobby. And finally, as well, we can't stress enough, Wolves pulling up to the competition finally after day 2.
Yeah, well done. And man, just recapping, watching the replays, you get a sense of how deadly this map was. Military zones are always chaotic, and this one was no different. Team Liquid started off the game controlling military against 9Z Globant. They did a wonderful job pushing Alpha 7 back at times. They were pushed in by multiple other teams, and they managed to hold their ground. But where they ended up ending was against AGG. Once again, I stress, though, Team Liquid had to push into AGG. There was no choice. But once they did, AGG just had their number, but it was Coops. The one-man army securing a third-place finish, and more importantly, picking up elims towards the end was incredible, 7.
It was. I honestly thought he was going to continue to be patient. I thought he was maybe trying to go for a top 2 situation and end up surprising these 2 squads, because I felt like they had forgotten about him until those grenades from him started coming in. But I mean, ultimately, Alpha 7 just way too strong with 11 eliminations, and this is what we were expecting to see out of this team. Remember, this is a team that had to fight to get into Military Island. It wasn't just a cakewalk. They were able to take on United for Gaming. We thought Squash was going to end up getting eliminated at one point somehow. Him